Eagle FM onora itatu imwe bali heali nola natu heali bali no heali ile komberewa nora hetatu natu bali o hetatu batatu o mafelane. Eagle FM, the eye.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Saima, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081 270 3727 or the office number 083 2888 400. Eagle FM, the eye.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests and callers are not those of Eagle FM and any of its staff.
Yenshangwe bambo aliamba iselome amhera na koni ya chwale ma programu ya luna ni haike ki mazazi asa konile kufita kono ki nayo mina miamhera marizazi la kachenu ki la muvulo yeni kona kuli ki mazazi ya makaya sasi ya lesikulu kufita kwa maferelezo ki mazazi ya mani okay kona kuli kweli ye etofita kwa mafelo la vutano ye nitofita kwa maferelezo la vutano kona kuli na mizusa nikumi amhera kuli mzuire chani kaufela ko mluterelize na koni ya chwale kikale yeni nevile na mavani nensweli kuipoza kule muchonile mama yeni muchonile luli ki mazazi asafitile inge mosavi famoya yeni kona kuli mutu naile kwa kupota mutu naile kwa kupota kwa haye kwani kwa kuvona mavasi mi kona kuli ki kwa vutokwa ki kwa vutokwa kuyanga kwa kupotela mavasi kuyovona kuli mavasi hazo hachwani nako ni nako sina hamziva kuli luna waba ina kwa mlene nkutata hulu kuno yanga kwa haye kaufela mhupulo moutela kuyanga kwa haye kutata hulu kuno yanga kwa haye kono mutu hafma ni nako ya kuyeza chwalo sana kuvona kuli wa nganako ni kuya kwa haye kona kuli nikamikandekela fela hainyani ni haikelo apotela misika ma mizuzu ye tano logavelo potes bisika ma mizuzu ye tano kona kuli nikamikandekela ngelo ska kena kale ma tava ye luikambota kapeni vata kuli luikambote kachenu kona kuli hanza pana mikandekela nga kuli kwa haye kuna kisiva kaseo mutu uyo lukuluhanga akulululi kisiva kaseo mutu hahupuli isi nkuli mutu kono nivolele kuli na kisiva kaseo hanio hupulanga manyando aka kisiva kaseo hanio hupulanga kusavali bashelenyi kisiva kaseo hanio hupulanga likazensaswaneli kuno hupulanga kisiva kako muhupulo waka uyopumulanga pilu yake yo lukuluhanga maikuto waka hanzivuli ngona kutoloka chwani avanga mama yemo ainzi hande yeni inge niska kale kwa haye nena nivutata vakusa lovalanga usiu nese nena nivutata vakusa lovalanga usiu kuli nilovala skovioti nako yenso na kulovala muhupulo waka uyafela kwa kusaziva hali kuli uyanga kai hanizivinina mi sento shungula kuli kuvana hala uli mutu fa mwenduto kwa kuya kwa kuanya vunde vavupilo vose nile muhile uhule ufite kai haiva kuli vashemi vahao vasalitene matasali zazimo ukato kwanga vashemi vahao yeni kapo fita kai kapo musupali kuvona fela usakona kuviza usakona kuviza tate vatu vao ki vatu vao kato kwanga mwavupilo vahao kona kulifahani vulelani mina nivona kuli ninzi mama yemo ainzi hande kwanda kutokwa fela masherengi ni kwanda kutokwa fela masherengi peto mendi kona skasen kona kuvila ela fela seo kono lika vungata walika luazuha hande ni pilu ilukuluhile maikuto ainzi mama yemo ainzi hande kona kuli hakuna zengata zen kuna kutongoka mwana koni achwali mwendi haukafitali kweli mwenda haukafitali kweli kona nikakona kukala kupola za manyando aka hamocho ni matata amange kono fafoni za maela manyando hani hupuli manyando hani ahupuli mane kula ni kezela kene nseisa kuli kele luhula kele luhula nevele vashemi mose vaambolela niluna mose vaeza fela likaza vona haluliteni niwena wavona fela kulia mutu uhulile kama nitiluli hanisa opisanga vanteni vome mwatoho iyo kona niti hanisa vaopisanga mwatoho nivona kuli nevele vona havo nivonanga kwa hai valukulu hanga hulu kuli mwana hulu notropota mivazi vanivona handende kuli nahanile kwa hai nile zani za kuyembulukanga mwatolopo yakati mamulilo zani luzisile kale ko mutu haya kwa haye faki kuyovona kuli uyo ikola pumulo ya haye kwa haye insingi kuzwa kwa mlenengi kuya matolopo yakati mamulilo niko ina matolopo kuzwa kwani kwa mlenengi kikuliva haisi kwa na maluvi ni kuyo ikola haye mbane haisi kuyokuta nikuliva lako ni nani program famo ya nese nilivezi tombo ni vapala fela ni mina aniko ni kumiliva laka kuli batelezi famo ya fa kilu vasilwaka lolumwe lupotele misika mi hangi lu 14 la pili muskema ya kwa ule.
Dreaming of a better future abroad? Namdeen's Investment CC can help make it happen. Whether you're a teacher, caregiver, nurse, doctor, IT professional, driver, construction worker, graduate, or looking for work, we provide trusted visa facilitation and consultancy services for visitor visas, high-paying jobs abroad, international study opportunities, scholarships, and recognized qualifications. For more information, contact +264 81 376 0041 or WhatsApp +264 81 806 2044. Today, Namdeen's Investment CC, opening doors to global opportunities.
lipuranengeno wapumbwa evatera ulikoni maondutu toingida ashike kapeno nweku dite opoye ekukulile oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana onongeshefa yapumbwa kukaraya kovano okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna emitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu kondado nawa nuneudo otukwetera o special ngeta shake ngeshefa omarudi dayoloka opone ushendife nawa nokumona oijamo ili nawa ninge kwata fanona monika ko Eagle FM onora 3 bali heali nola natu heali bali no heali ile komberewa nora 3 bali o 3 o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
Yen shangwe mi Ulwazi la pili. Yen. Kona kuliseri mizuzu ye lishumi ni ye ketalizo ye selovehile kwa hola ona avulishumi ngwi. Kona kulingela sikapotela kale misika ne nimivulela kuli neni mipuma musike malumela tava ya kuli kutene ni milivezi vatili nensika milivala kona kuli kinayo kele niyo kuta chale haiba kuli kuna nizene muniswalezi mwa mazaze ane nisio mvone kuli mwantiseza zona kinayo kele niyo kuta makona kuzitisa nito utwa kuli kili kamanyi hapa ndikoba kile kuli kwa abatelezi bakakaofela bene banivuze fela kuli mane nisayo kutakibo masule one out kona kuli bonje njema ni bopita nswanela kumifa milatu nswanela kumifa milatu kakuli haiva kuli nemunitonda kama nitiluli nemukanizivisa kaputako ni kunikupa kuli lwa mitokwa mukute famoya ka pilipili kapa nizo kutakale chalefa wakenisa kuli nimina ne mukuzize fela nibona kuli wendi batu habasikani tonda chale nikole pumulo yaka kwanda fo nika kutela luka yotona hamo chale kimulatu bopita ni bonje njema Marivo Hendrik baba salutele zingi kwa haiva kensa kuli mpito yao na iska kala kale kutwahala kivona baba lizeni kuboza kuli kanti kingi muhala wa ma studio house ala viwi kalile kale kunolizanga kono hakuna mise ni batolokela kuli mutu na sio mutu nanzi kwa hai mutu nanzi kwa pumulo maneni mivulezi kuli kwa hae kwa avata kwa hae kwa avata kwa hae kwa avata akuswani inge mayemu akwanu kwa mlening kwa hae lizazitisali kela fela bwasu utwa silamisa nata aiva kuli amskati na likaze futumala nge kwa mautu nifamu bili masutu kuli sami andalu lisilami nilihola za kakusasanizani lihola za nibona kuli kihola ya vulalu yani hola ya vulalu ya vune ya kakusasani mama kikui hata kuvo kwani kwa abe hale zivi kuli ndu ya vuchwani famaliha ya vata hulu kapachwani kakuli nenu utwa na utwa nikamoya kakazwa afande kuli kafuka luli kakena luli mwandu chale nizoko makakuli vuchwani bwavata famaliha njichwani kauli naziba kuli fambumbi neni yahile vuchwani bakengisa kuli mbumbi ya kwa hae kimbumbi ye halifanga hulu mkafumana kuli kazazi kateni moka natela ki kuchisa luli chale kwa nane nivoni kuli nive vuchwani kuli kunolo valanga kakozo hani ya kwa hae mwanako ya mbumbi chale kona zeo namungine ni bata kuyocha kilino namungine ni bata kuyocha lino hamocho nilisoto chale nako nako haisikani lumelela kabumai kona kuli anizivi hanizivi nako yaka hanize kwa hae iva hanizivi kuli kweza halanga ngivanga hulu inge ye kuswani kapa mwendikili bakala kuli hanisa lumela na fani tolopo hani va matolopo muhupulo waka unzifela kwa hae nisaba matolopo yakati mamulilo ni kutwenge kunisiri kunoshinyana kwa yakansona kukuta kwa hae kona kuli ni hani ya kwa tolopo hani ngina kwa yetelele na kuta kwa hae chwale kona zewa hakuna litapi kwa hae hakuna litapi nizo kona kuchafela litapi za maonyana kono litapi zemezi sikakona kuzifumana vene vanisepisize kuli vakanisa kwa kalimbeza na vatola upate hakavuma ikona kuli hanisikakona kuya kwa ten kuli mutu ayocha tapi yemezi kavumai chwale kavukuswani kona zeo kona haneni sioni mina livakala kuli mutu naile kwa kuikotolola kwa kupumula eni kusina kuhupula kuli vopita havasikaliza kachenu kingi vomasule havasikaliza kachenu kisikamanyi vonjenje vavakai havasala vimuhala vavona kingi nikusina zeo mutu na inzifela inga epumulezi kwa hai kusina kuhupula zesio kwa hai nchwale kona zeo niswana kuyeza kantoka una kakancha vakengisa kuli kapangaliko kaluna kani hakasaza maelela ni nako ya programu yauna nene upula kuli hakavuleli nako nene upula kuli hakavuleli nako kono kavulela nako kona kuluswanela kuyeza kakancha nivona kuli niyeze nako nivate manzwi amina kaba mwendi kwa mafelelezo a programu ye hanizivifaka palokaiza chwani mwendi mwa programu ona ye hamukaliza muvuleleze mvata kulizive makapangaliko hamukaliza kwa mafelelezo muvuleleze mvata kulizi utwahale mwakapangaliko kalona kona kuli kwa mafelelezo a programu yauna kachenu nakona kufama chaziva kuli vange manzwi amina vangefa luyeze kanto kaluna na kuvunolo nina nakona kuveya alinzwi laka onachana programu hainzenge mata kuli kuvevunolo kuvava yeza kanto ka nikakuli kapangaliko kaluna kaneli kakamunati maso ni haike vonjenje mani vasio mateni vopitani vona ni vasio mateni kona kuluswanela kuvavea mateni ni vona nevaikupezi kale kona kuluswanela kuyeza nako kulikaofela vavalizanga famoya vakone kuva mwa kanto kauna kakanja nikalile kalengeni misepsa mini vona kuli ni kayeza kaputako kuli kakone kuyeza hala kakone kutwahala fa moya seli mizuzu ye supire ansike wolivala nako maslozi vati seli mizuzu ye supire siyalezi mane seli yesi yalezi kuli lukone kupotela misika miasamlaho luto ambola kwama lipiho zepeli za vuvangoki kapani vulefa kulipiho piho ya vuvangoki yevihilwe mafelo aviki mi ona piho ye kona fox muluhanga mbolo yauna ya kachenu nikamitolokela kuli ngambolo yauna ya kachenu kifiani sestisize ona ngambolo ye kunani ya izongola kwa makepe nilili yaka ya baba endati kunani ya ngozi kwa makepe mi tava ya izongola ki tava nina ye nilumela na niona mi senivona kuli ona ye kona ngambolo yauna ya kachenu nivona kuli lukatokena kuzeo kwaline kulale asamlaho amisika kona lukato ambola ona litavaze lukatoteleza piho sapili miasamlaho kona ni kato mifa ngambolo mi asamlaho nikakona kola mihala kulimkone kuliza ni kufitsa maikuto amina yeni niveni sapo yakulivo vo Hendrik havana kuitahanela kulize zaka kulivona havana wayalisi vatereza fela mamoya kono vali zizenge nsikataka moya ni kunivuza kuli kacheno kwa mboli wanyu mise ni vavolera kuli kacheno lwambola ze mi vaize kuli nivona vakakona kukena pamoya ni kufitsa maikuto avona chwale kona zeo shangwe kuna nena nivulera kuli kweli eitahanezi hanizivi kono nanivona kuli haisika itahanela kuna nivona kuli imatile kamona iswanela kumatela hanisika ivona kuli hanisika vona kuitahanela kono ni kutwenge kuli imatile kana moisu kamona iswanela kumata kapa izamaile kamona iswanela kuzamaila mwendi kona kusava ni malindati hae vakuli hamuna masherengi ni mivulelele kweli iva yetelele kapa hamukoni kuvona kweli kuli azamaya ngesweli kuno uzamaya vakenisa kuli pokoto ipunye hile pokoto ipunye hile hape kwa hae kivava ingani vava yozwanga ni masherengi kwani mwendi vani vava nani masherengi luli kuli wile ni masherengi luli chwale mwendi kuna ni ayo siyala oko na kuyo kutaniwana chwale luna to tu sherengi to na tuwavo chabe hakuna hatu yokuta hoya kwa hayo yotusia kaofela tona mbu hoyo kuta wa mlenengi hakuna kona hakuli kwa vuto kwa hulumane kulekelela zoto kwa kwanu kwa mlene ngingwa sikia kale kwa hai nishunguzi kuli woko na vatali wovumwi woluswanela kuyezanga inge musika kale kwa hai mamulene ngi musanana kuvona kuli mwalekelela zeto kwa hala kwanu kapaki school shoes kapaki livuka kapaki uniform mulekelele musie licho busunso mafola kutata isa lizwai mulekelele musie nge musika yakale kwa hai kuna hamu yokuta mazohozoho kwa hai hamutolo valanitala kwanu lu potele misika mi asamlaho lu toka la chwale ni kutoka likele ni vule la hulu lichika la hole ngenso likuno vala awa kikale nitondile ndati nitondile kuva famoya ni mitondile ni mina vaterezi vaka vavalatea.
Eish, my data is finished 3 days into the week.
Every week, same thing. Switch to Paratus 083 mobile.
Paratus 083?
For $45, get Socializer uncapped WhatsApp calling and social bundle. 5 gig for TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Plus 1 gig for anything else for a whole week.
$45 for all of that?
$45. That's it. Full stop. No vet surprises. Paratus 083 mobile.
Switch to Paratus 083 mobile and get the Socializer 7-day unlimited WhatsApp plus 6 gigabytes. $45 Namibian for 7 days. Uncapped unlimited WhatsApp calling and chatting plus 5 gig social and 1 gig anytime data. Available on self-service, the Paratus app, at Airtime City kiosks and Paratus shops. Be the engager and power your next social move all week. T's and C's apply.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Eagle FM lets you express your constitutional rights of freedom of expression without fear of favor.
This is actually to put it mildly, an economic scandal.
Fraud.
Not fraud, it's a scandal. Why do you give a tender to somebody who does not have capacity to build? Why should you do that? You know a person that does not have the capacity to build.
Eagle FM lets you talk.
That's why I'm always telling people in Parliament, let me not take up my Katatura manners.
Right.
Because I grew up in Katatura. And I will not hesitate to tell you off if it is needed to do.
Be part of the debate by setting the agenda.
My response in terms of Rwanda at 6% is that we had been there before. We've had 6% growth before. It's not something that Namibia has not achieved in the past, and it's not something that Namibia will not be able to achieve in the future.
Eagle FM, the eye.
Yenshangwe mi soluke na mali piho sa vango ki maana koni ya chwale. Ngelo skafta kale kwa piho yeo ngambolo ya luna iye miteng. Kona kuli piho ya pili ye nswalafa. Ye virwe mafelo. Aviki ki piho kwa mpoko la ya tamire asamlaho akuchaisa yomungu yana zamaya ni motkala yen kona kuli kimpoko la walimo ze mashumi maneni zene yo uvereka kwali neku ladies vahala kusereleza vatu vavutokwa ahuluhulululi mwas vaka sa otapi mi kuvihiwa kuli kutina tamiro asamlaho akuchaisa yana zamani mautu ka ni motkala mwam kwa wa otapi ni tandi mavani manzivwani mi vava hulu vaspokola ma skriti sa omsati vaize kuli kozine eza hezi hola ya vusirela ya manzivwani kwa svaka sa otapi mi ya kuluvelwa na sweli kukwaeza motkala mi na kwaeza isi ka tokomelo hachaisa yo na zama ni mautu fam kwa mi kutina sweli kukwaeza motkala asinari ngolo leli mulumelela kukwaeza motkala na hanile kufa mali ahaye hakupiwa kuli akonde kufa mali ahaye ki mwetereri wafamu kwakwa kapa muvereki wafamu kwakwa kona kuli yacha isizwe ki msalimu hulu wali moze mashumi asirezi nze sirezi yo uzwerera kwa haye yef maneha maskriti sa sing maskriti ma constituency ya otapi mi na konle kufmanari kolofalo kwa sfateo sa haye mi ya kulvelwa talimani ni muzeko wa kukwaeza motkala isi ka tokomelo hamochalo ni kukwaeza motkala kusinari ngolo leli mulumelela kukwaeza motkala fam kwakwa hamochalo ni kuhana kufa mali ahai miri patiso zazo la pili ona mapi hoye kona kuli piho yengwi ki piho kwa playa kwa kuvire mafelo aviki mi kuvire nili piho zene mafelo aviki musari walidi moze mashumi amane nzelo vangwi kukuluvera kuli kutina ipola ile kwa svaka sa ona mbango sisimaneha kwa omuntere lavutano mezi viso ifilwe mwapiho yefi wanga ki você voava e vaspokola mafelo aviki me você voava e vaspokola vai dizer que tisto po sam sariones fumanui ki vo mahe hola ya vosirera yakakusasani me kukuluvera kuri enam sario na fumanui mwamsio wa hae me stopnes fumanui ki vo mahe me você vai dizer que hakuna vo paki vo konle fumana vamos pesa kuri kuna ni senes konle kweza hala kwanda sisupo sa kui playa me hakunari ngolo le toloka kuri senes tisize kui playa kwa kis kamani me valova silwa hai enam saria va konle kuziviswa me patiso zazwe la peri kwa rineku la mapokola mi mapiho yengwi vosi vavu vasipokola vavihile muna walilimo ze mashumi amane nzeke talizoho yo na ipola ile kwa hae yengwi yef maneha mas bakasa onyanya mi na ipola ile hole avishumi peli yam si hali la savata mi hako nari ngolo le nelifumani le talsa ona kezo ya kuiplaya ye mi valva sula eva kon le kuziviswa kwa ma ona rifule mi vosivo avu ibazwela pili kuvihari fu lelingwi mi kilifu la muna walili moze mashumi amaveri nize supile yo na ipola ile kwa svaka sesfumane ha mwa kapako constituency mwa skritisa Kavango West mi na ipola ile hola ya vusile le akakusasani mi hakunari ngolo le rifumani le toloka ona kezoye mi patiso zazwe la pili hamo chon valvasi bakon le uzviswa za rifola hae mi piho ya mafelelezo ipiho ya muna walili moze mashima maveri nize lova peri yo na ipola ile kwa svaka sa kalkranse sumane ha mwa oriental mi kukurverwa kuri kezo neza hezi hola ya vusupa ya manzi vwani la savata valva sula hae bakon le kuzibiswa za rifula hae mi ripatiso zazwe la pili kwa hali neku la mapokola kona kuli mwapiho yengwi kipiho kwa manana yakon le kutamiwa pili wantame miriri yaka ya baba ndati nikona kuli mwanana yakon le kutamiwa mi utamirwe kwa skritisa oshana kwa ni kwa skritisa oshana kwa kona kuli ki mwanana walimo zeli shumi nize ketalizoho yo utamirwe mi utamirwe asamlaho akuverwa kuli na tavile muna walilimo zeli shumi nize lovangwi mukuna mutavile ni tipa mwaskriti saoshana la savata kona kuli vosi voawi vasipokola va vihile ona pihoye nga pihoye vona ya mafelo aviki mi kukuluverwa kuli muna kuti na atimezi asamlaho akutaviwa ni tipa yeo ne sevetisizwe ki akuluverwa yana ndili mozeli shumi zeketa zizoho me vosi vavu vaize kuli sisitisize ona kezoye hasika kona kuzivahala kale kapa hasizivwi kona kuli valuvasi lwa muna ya timezi vakonle kuziviswa za rifola hae kona kuli ripatiso zazwe la pili ona mwapihoye mi mwapihoye ngwi mune walimo ze mashimi amaveli nize sile zinatimeza asamlaho akutaviwa fande a sivaka sahai emekuna atavirwe la butano kwa sivaka sa hobabes mi vosi vavu vasipokola va vihakuli ona kezo ene za hezi hola vulishumi ya vusiu mi hawa kia kale muniswale nivatire kukomokwa kuli piho yene ni valile ye ni kuli piho yene ni valile piho ye kona hani vatire kukomokwa muniswalele muniswalele hulu kona kuli ki piho ya kuiplaya ni piho ye kili piho za kaleze kona halu saswa neli kuno yanga na kwetelele kwa mahai simwavona fo kona halu saswa neli kuno yanga kwa mahai na kwetelele kakuli hoyo kweta kuswana inge kuli inge hozivi zosonera kuyeza kanti wazi bazosonera kuyeza kona kuli muniswalile kona kuli piho ya vatu vani vene vaipolaile bavane kipiho ya kale mipiho ni yeye nensweli kuvalafa niona kipiho ya kale zene zivihilwe mwa viki ya pili mwa kweliye nezivihilwe mwa viki ya pili kona kuli kiza kale milwazwe la pili kona kuli ki mizuzu ye milalo yesi alezi mikanga imba kakave kavapalile kona kuli asamulaho lukatozwe la pili ni piho yalene ni mivulelela piho yeo ngambolo ya luna isimolo hatenyu yeni musike maya kwa hule anisa ya kwa haifa anisa ya kwa hai hava kuliseni yeza mafosa chwana famoya kanti hanisa ya kwa hai nizo chwana hulu miki misuzu yelishumi ni yelo vapeli yesesi aleskulukoneo kena mahola yavu veli hola yavu lishumi peli yeni kona kuli kila muvulo kachenu lavutanu lwalaeza kweliye lavutanu lutopela kapina kauna kani kamunatahulu kelopelelanga vatu havahozi yeni kuvani vava kahola lavutanu lutomiopelela sina kamita naye kefo kumwise lutulisanga fokumuse lutulisanga haiva kuli kuna ni vavahozi lwatulisa kweza kulivala hainyani kononi vona kuli viki yeni topela kikale fonse nemiopelezi seli mazazi neni mitondela hulu hava muzive ona tava yeo yakuli maana lisana mitondile ahulululi isingilishea chwale lumizema ati hainyani miasamlaho kanga imba katova palanikona hangi miasamlaho lu katozwe la pili ni tava yaluna ya kachenu tomikandekela kuli zelu ambola kachenu kili fizani manene vele fo bomasule mavane banizifise kuli mwendi havana kuvatengi vakenisa kuli kunani kova yopate hakwani.
Eagle FM lets you express your constitutional rights of freedom of expression without fear of favor.
This is actually, to put it mildly, an economic scandal.
Fraud. So
not fraud, it's a scandal.
Scandal.
Why do you give a tender to somebody who does not have capacity to build? Why should you do that? You're the person that does not have the capacity to build.
Eagle FM lets you talk.
That's why I'm always telling people in Parliament, let me not take up my Katatura menace.
Right.
Because I grew up in Katatura. And I will not hesitate to tell you off if it is needed to.
Be part of the debate by setting the agenda.
My response in terms of Rwanda at 6% is that we had been there before. We've had 6% growth before. It's not something that Namibia has not achieved in the past. And it's not something that Namibia
litavazende kize imba izwezi pili lwekelize mikwa yengwi yencha kukona kunolofaza kwa nkufisa hamo chwalo ni mata amskavo na kale kana mwitukiselize kuvona msevelezo wa imba ye mufumane lisevelezo zezwezi pili ze kakulifafela mashilingi alika na 36 Namibian dollars kakweli kapa kamikwa ye kutesifa fasi ye tatama 5% machipisa hamungo lisalikwelize talu 10% machipisa hamungo lisalikwelize silela 25% machipisa hamungo lisalikwelize lishumipeli muketeli kwelizo muvata kuli mukone kukala kuikola zende zeo imba imiswale zifa machipisa imba vokuvukanili fasi kaufela mwipe kwa lisevelezo za imba kachenu kuli mukone kuikola zende kaufela.
Something that Namibia has not achieved in the past, and it's not something that Namibia will not be able to achieve in the future.
Eagle FM, the eye.
Nshangwe lwazwe la pili nikona kuli halo ambole inge niskafe za kale programu ye nge luskake na kale mwatava yensweli kumikandekela uli lukambota kono hape kufita haifiti ona tavai. Kona kuli piho kiye. Kuna ne basali babaveli bavulailwe mafelo aviki. Mapokola mwa piho yavona. Ye bazwisanga mafelo aviki bavihireli piho zepeli. Mikili piho za basali vao ne bavulailwe mwa mafelo aviki yeluzwa kuyona. Mi onali piho ze, kili piho zefilwe kivosibu avu ibasipokola mavanila sunda. Mi kuya kama nzo avosibu avu kapa kuya kapiho yeba file vosibu avu. Piho ya pili ki piho kwa mamsali walilimo ze mashimi ya malalo nzelo vangwi. Yo kukuluvela kulina kuno pilwe ki nyazi ya hae ya muna. Kwansi vaka sa ongos. Ses maneha mwasi vaka sa Havana. Mi ona taveneza hezi lavu tano. Mi mapiho yengwi. Estupo samsari walilimo ze mashimi ya mane ni silimo silisingwi. Nesfomanwi. Mwasi vaka mokfitanga mezi. Kwa tolopo ya okahanja. Mi kuya kama nzavosibu avoi. Piho ya pili. Iyo yene yeza hezi kwa Havana. Tavane yeza hezi hola ya pili ya msihari. Mi kukuluvelwa kuli. Ya kuluvelwa yo ye elimu ya hiwa na Namibia. Kutina kunupile nyazi ya hae ya msari. Mi ona kezo ye kikezo ye tira samlaho azivo yezivahala kwa ma lukari kilindwa. Domestic abuse must working. Lukari kilindwa zene vanga ten ona mwali vatole. Mi vosiba vasipokola vaize kuli kutimusali na timezi ona 4 fana kunopezwi. Mi ya kuluvelwa konle kutamiwa. Mi unzi mwa stoksi sa mapokola. Kona kuli valuvasi lua musali ya timezi vakonle kuziviswa kwa ma ona kozie. Kona kuli mwapiho ya vuveli. Sinahani ze kuli stopu nesfomanwi. Mwasi vaka mokfitanga mezi. Mekutu nesfomanwi hola yaka kusasani ya vlova peli lavutanu. Miku kulovelwa kuli. Stopuse nesfomanwi ki yomungwi membala. Wa tolopo ya okahanja. Mikiana na izo sfomana. Ona mwasi vaka mo. Kona kuli valuvasi lua musalio kapa. Valuvasi wakole nekuziviswa za lifu la hae mima pokola vazwe la pili kuyeza lipatiso. Kona kuvatisa ulisistisize lifu la hae ki skamain. Kona kulingambole ya onaki. Nahanize kuli sistisize ona ngambolo. Kuna na izongola kwa makepe. Miya na wizongola maikoto hae. Kwa mapiho ya pili yeye ni mivalezi piho. Ya msari ya valairwe ki muna hai. Kona kuli ya na wizongola taba ya kuli. Mapokolo kutine vaziva kwa ma ona vutata vovone vunyisi mali vatoli. Msari kutine ayo vihanga kwa mapokola. Mi mapokola ne vaziva ona vutata vo. Telefoni sasi vihande kikuli. Nevai na hamoho kapachani kakuli. Yani aizongola maikuto hae. Kwa alikepe lelingwi. Wizongola inge kuli nevai na hamoho. Mi inge vana ni vana. Mi wizongola taba ya kuli. Chere musari yohana sasi muna yokiskamang. Yen kuli hana sasi muna yokiskamang haiva kuli. Nasa muyezi hande, nasa mpirisi hande. Namu nyandisa, namu luansanga nako ni nako. yen chwale hana sika musia kis kamang chwale ona fo ko na fokta hanga mbolo ya lunakuli vasali vava nyandiswa ma rivato kapake manyalo kapake vunyazi fela kingi hava sana no hingi kuzwa mama nyalo mo hamocho ni vana mwendi ruive kwa vana ni vana kakuli hape kuli ruive fela kwa line kula vasali sa ukavona halenge kuli vana vona hava nyanswangi manyalo kapa kuvatana kono vana ni vona kavamana kuli ni vona vanyandiswanga mukavumana kuli kuna ni vana vani vavaezanga kuli ena mani nikuswala musali hamuswali famuvili ukutafela fakuyo itamelela kapa wanga tovolo nikuipulaya kuna ni vana vani vavaezanga kuli asa utwa kuli kapa asa shungula kuli kela nyanda hulu ukalela kuvulaya musali miasa mlaho ukutaku kuyena kuna ni hamocho ni vasali vese vavulaile vana vavanyandisa kuna ni vasali vese vavulaile vana vao ni vavanyandisanga chalepozo kia kuli kusana no hakis kamang sasa mina no hisi kanti kis kamang mama yani aizongola ama ikuto andi uvulezi hamocho ni tava ya kuli vatu vasiki vanosevelisanga vanana kuzwela pili kuina manyando avavona kuli ahaki manyando kama nitululi hakuna kuli vasevelisa vanana kuzwela pili kuina manyando mo hanisivi yanavulezi kuli mutu hazwa manyando vanana vani vakanyanda kimanyi kapa mutu asasi ya mutu ya munyandisa kapa kimusala haya ya munyandisa kapa kimuna haya ya munyandisa yanavulezi kuli vanana vani havana kuhula hande kimanyi kuli vanana vani havana kukondoloka kimanyi kakuli vatu vasori kuno walatehelwa vupilo zulu vasali vasori kuno walatehelwa hulu vupilo wavona kensa kuli manzwi aswana inge kinda taheva na vaka kivonda taheva na vaka asweli kuno vavulaisa hulu kakuli ni halu vapisa palo ya vasali yevulayanga vana haiko nukukena kwa palo ya vana baba vulayanga vasali chwale sesi nisanga vatu mwama lato abavona kuli hayeleli hande ki malato amanyando vasori kuno nyandiswa fela musihu ni musihali nane ni vulezi ntava ya kuli mutu ya kuswala famuvili hake mutu yo swanela kuupolela kuli hana kukutela fatenga kapa manene vulele kuli mutu asa kusupa fela munwana kuli iwe muzive kuli nako yengwi hana kumisupa fela munwana ikava kuswala na famuvili kava kuswala na mambando haiva kuli hamunkoni kuitamulela okamititikayo miasa miswala fela famuvili peto hasasia haisi kuwa mipumbe kachwana kuwa mivona kimi na vale muyoferera mwamuvu kona akakona kumiswala famuvili wamina chariluna vatu suluinisanga mwali vato mwamanyando achwana kiskamai ni kiskamai kiskamai sesilunyanda halu ketanga manyando kis kama insing ku ilukulula kuri moto aye ayopira hande bo piro bahai yen seri mizuzu ye serezi seri ye ketarizo ye siarezi kuri lukone kukena mahole aboveri kele ni volera hulo kele ni volera hola mukatumbi ngensweri ku volera fera ninos kwana kuni nimina makona kukena mtofa maikuto amina kwama ona tavaye milu kamiza mati hanyani asamla holu 14 la piri nevile fominene mwile kwa mukiti kwa mukiti wa masuvia kwa vukalo kwane kwizo za machoni nene vone vomweteleri wana hane batinile maso musisi omunde vomweteleri wana hayaluna kibavande vomweteleri wana hayaluna kibavande maswe manene muvoni musisi wana ole batinile kuli na wovaswanezi ahulu luli yeni kona kuli haiva kuli kuna nivene vaile kwa munintenge mulukandekele kuli kuizoza machwani nikona kuli lukamiza mati hainyani miasamla holu 14 la piri muske maya kwa hule lutona hamo shangwe amutaheni mina mto volera ke fokele ni volera hulu hola mukatumbi ngenswedi ku volera chale ni mina mtahe moto ambola loto ambola hamo.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Saima, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-288-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
lipuranengeno wapumbwa eva tere ulikoni maondo tuto ingida ashike kapeno nweko dite opoye ekukulile oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana onongeshe fa yapumbwa kukaraya kovano okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna evitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu kondado nawa nuneudo otukwetera o special ngetashake ngeshefa omarudi dayo loka opone ushendi fenawa nokumona oijamwiri nawa ningepata fanona monika ko Eagle FM onora etatu imwe bali heali nola natu heali bali no heali ile komberewa nora hetatu natu bali o hetatu batatu o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
Eagle FM lets you express your constitutional rights of freedom of expression without fear of favor.
This is actually, to put it mildly, an economic scandal.
Fraud. So
not fraud, it's a scandal. Why do you give a tender to somebody who does not have capacity to build? Why should you do that? You know a person that does not have a capacity to build.
Eagle FM lets you talk.
That's why I'm always telling people in Parliament, let me not take up my Katatura manners.
Right.
Because I grew up in Katatura. And I will not hesitate to tell you off if it is needed to do.
Be part of the debate by setting the agenda.
My response in terms of Rwanda at 6% is that we had been there before. We've had 6% growth before. It's not something that Namibia has not achieved in the past, and it's not something that Namibia will not be able to achieve in the future.
Eagle FM, the eye.
Ni Ulwazi la pili kona kulikelo ukenda mwahola ya vulishu peri. Ni kila ukenda mwahola ya vulishu peri. Ministeri nako ya kutori sana. Kuli mtozi chwani ko mlutererize ka ufela. Abene niska kona kuvu nene soni kweza ngina kandi niska kona kuvuha mukiti wa munintenge neli la savata nska kona kuvoha mkitiwani anzuri nenipata ile nini konona hupula kuli kuna niyana nilumelelize elingusa kone nikona kuvuha chole hapene ntroli hakuvona lingusalani kakuli habeni yena nalumelelize kwa Facebook kuna nifoni inanga mazazi hanikeni kwa Facebook yaka mi kuni ingire nakoludi kona kuvona kuli nene kona kuvuha ona mkitiwani kona nene voni maswaniso nene voni maswaniso vatu ni vasweli kuvina nina nisa pa kulika ofela nene voni volukata ngu vasweli kuvina ndati kaofela nene voni tavo yene inzi kuvolukato ne vavinile vao isingilishare me mane hanto vavona seni kutwa maswe hey kambe ni nane nile kulo kwa chale butanta hani na musisi silimoni vanga ni mulelo wakulukisa musisi chale hani zikuli ni valiswanga king onafana kona kuba ni muhopolo wakuli ni luhise niluhise musisi kono ona tave ni moikala tela mamuhopolo waka hani zivinina puchi kulivala kono ne kuvona hala kuli kuuza maile hande kwa vukalo kwani ngata vama swanswani voni vatune vatinile hande lori zene latela mikiti ye ki katinelo yeni kuli haiva kuna no vatinanga litino zeza skuwaze kikiva skaifera kono mukafumana kuli vatu vatina litino za kuluhisa vatina litino za sizo yeni kutompi wanga zizo kapa sizo sa mwaskriti sa hesu kona kuli ne kubona hala kuli kuzota visa maswe kwa mkiti wa vekuhane muhala waka mane walila kapachana hamsa na hali king mukai muhala wa seveza handendendendende muhala wa seveza handendendendende chole mukai bonje njema vopita mukai komunzi ham kuzisize chwalo ni militesi mwabona tavene ni mivulela vopita zazireli ngane mpihelezi kule kuti nakweyalna neliye kuswani mahupula hane mpihelezi kuli nakweyalna seliye kuswani nakweyalna kiye kuswani ne muchamuzi mizuzu yelishumi yemilalu kwatene ne muzuzi ne muchamuzi kwatene kwizusa kwatene mivulela kuli mizuzu insingi mizuzu lihola zepeli azikona hali haiva kuli vakwambola nivona havayo ningo wambola file ngo wambola lihola zepeli tu kukala muzuzu wa pili high school fita muzuzu wa vulishumisirila kuwisa kuona kukena mahola ya vuveli kukala hapa muzuzu wa pili mane high school fita 60 ingo vulela felo nosi awa azikona hali zeo chwale nako kiye izo kuta mulize mtahe lutotona halovoneka pakuna ne vavang'ozili ng'osa kwali kepela una nikuva zusaka chana halusika vasusa nikuva tolisa lumitolisa ni mina kwali kepe kwani mina vava telelisa halovoneka pakuna ne vavang'ozili ng'osa hape baba vangozi voli fansi given vangozi kulisizo masalicho voli fansi muzuhile chwani mutozi chwani sizo masalicho niki sizo masalicho ni maikuto amina kiafi Ni maikuta mina kiafi kwa ngambolo ya luna. Mungwazi fera kulisizuma salicho. Chwale, sizuma salicho kulisiezi zenyu. Ni siezi chwani sizuma salicho. Kona kuli. Sinahani ize. Ni voleza holo. Ni volezi hola mkatumbi haniko ni hanisa kona kuzwela pili kuvolela hape. Chwale, muulize. Kaba kuna ni butata kwa telefoni hamsalizi kuli king form. Cha? Bopita ni bonjenjema. Kuna ni butata kwa muhala kapachwani. Hamsalizi. Nikakuli kele nishwa kulitela hamuvona hali. Mwile kai. Halo vone ni ngole lingosa. Ni ngole lingosa. Kwanda kuli mwendi muhala musiri kunolika haulili hanizi vikono kame musiri kunoliza. Kambe muni ngole zili ngosala kuli. Muhala haulili. Ni kama munile musize kuli muhala haulili. Nenika kona kuziva kuli hamsalizi kisi kamai. Yensha.
Shangwe Tolstoy.
Lutazim Tolstoy.
Lutazi hende. Kapa isali kakusasa nipa.
Mseri kutola fakele kwa na 12 o'clock.
Soda.
Ni.
Hulu.
Hambe hamudi hile kuliza king.
Kuku. Mepate ho gata.
Mepate ho hii mulivezi kuli. Mulivezi kuli programu ikalile ka 11.
Nizivire kare kuli programu ikalile ka 11. Bata kwa lomani kuli kamu kaifani ka
1 o'clock.
Ka 1 o'clock. Kiona programu ya luna yale.
Ni kiona.
Ni nyandiso ya basali wale wasa sokobolohi wanda.
Kona sini voni kuli hape haluka ambola hea basali vana kuli bakai kutwa kuketololwa nivona.
Mani nikavea kwa teni nivana.
Nikona kuli nivoni kuli luve kwa teni nivana. Kakuli nivana nivona mkafu mana uli kuna nivana baba nyandiswa.
Hulu.
Kuli mane muna yani haisi kuipulaya fera. Haiva havulai musali kwa teni kuipulaya niena. Waipulaya wakingsama nyando. Hai nezi masivaka.
Sikwana. Kusaziva kuli ukaya kakai. Kuli safu manafera kuli mwendi kwa na maferelezo wali fasti.
Ni safu na fera kuli ni paheke fera. Kakuli hazina ukona halaze.
Kona kelezo elu somela kufakuwa wangu ivana. Wafina mwiketo handa mabukilo. Nivakone kufumana keto. Ya kuli kuna ni keto ya pili ya buveri ya bulalu twalo. First choice, second choice, third choice. Nikana kuli nalukaba ereza kuli baombe ombeli kiruza bona. Kono feni bona festi panga hulu twalo kuli basali kapavana vaine mali vato koko na nini ambiso yona gender based violence. Ikuli vai pea kama yema mainja ni bona vani. Vai pona kuli hakuna seva kona kuyeza. Mwendi kuli mwendi vai pingesa era ona po kubona na vana vao basali vao bane vavatire kapa bane vavatire kubona. Nikona kuli kama zama mkikutokwa tukuruho ya kuli mutu kana mona nikandekezi ni mutu yo kuli hanilu mere kapa ruvule rukute kwa basali nikakalela kwa basali kiliwoka kuli nani muna basali mukabona kuli okana hupulanga kuli mwendi manzana nivulelezi munayo akuli wani vata ni wani lata yakwile mwendi akusana munayo mungu yakona kunivulelela manzi yao kakuli yena ukana nahanona twalo kakuli poku mwe vatu vamukutekile vakensa kuli unzi ni munayo mungu twale halatipera kuapula peza disclose kuli kulofani inji mwalivato kapa mama ino anyandiso twale nakweye wahupula kuisamo muhupulo uzo kwa uito kuya mutulo mani mboera utoipumana kulya konaona fafa halifoni inji fa peto kona mashwero waka anate amane anyandise amane peto nikaina pero na twalo mukamona kulihanga sabatu babo banyandiswa enzi masichava ubonesa kulinga yapira hande bakisa kuli utokwa kuli balikani bahaye bale tibona babe ningambolo niena kukanteka za bukiro twalo ono hasa kutipa sivakona koko na minyandiso hapo yoyi kutwa kuli sanzi mamuluti usiri hapi saswani nimuluti wanaanzi kuona hana ile kwa kupota kapa twalo kwali makazeni twale lukaive yakuli basali vaiponanga kuli hanikazwa mali vatole ikulu mali vatolale mokuyeza kuli wanatiwa nakoninako kapamani ufumberwa kuli asaeza pera hangu peto ukavulayo kabona kuli waitovoha kuli peto onafa peto kona mukiromoni kapirona bomani kusanikayo twale lukute yeo yabasali ngaisiera fo lukute kwa vana mukabona kuli kesa kuli uvire kuli kiena wazivahala kuli kapamasi zosalu nakuzivahezi kuli muna hasomeri kulira kapa muna hasomeri kutongoka mazamasi vaka kuli misali wa munyandisa vatu vakamuseha mukabona kuli vungata bwa vana mani basaba kuyovihani hezi kwa mapokola kwa basali sina musali yenayo ya munyandisa kuli musali yale nakuli nakupeto useri wani nataka pamani useri wani hatisa kuyezazeni vani twale mukabona kuli ilikazeo tikati vavana vavanga kulajikili kapamani kuipumana mama yemu akuipulaya kapa kuhupulafera kuli nikomereze pera ona mali vato lanyandiso onale nitwale kelezo kikuli vatu vasomera kuva ni musaka pa vatu nakuva ni kisema kubona vani kuli vaipuluse mama tata asona sina hao nitwale kona zenika likafera kutoloka foka kuli nyandiso ki yamana ni mataka pa kuzamaisa yoneva vule yakuli power and control kuli mutu yale yakunyandisa wakuzamaisa mana kuli hakuzamaisa mwasomera kuchera hakuzamaisa mwasomera kulovalela mwasomera kutinera mwasomera kuvulela ningona ili kazenga tanga kaze putezi matu kale luvate tu soko kutoko hala kuli luitu kulule lunavanji kakuli hakifera mina baba peli baba machifasi kuli hakunyandisa peto kiena hapi yoka no vihera kuli kuto kuli na nyanda hana kuyemba kakuli ukau mbona kuli hakuna kokona kuyatwala koma poli sasa pa baba elezi baba mwe kapa baba ngwa kata maska
kuna nepuzo ni miswalezi
muvuze luti.
Ni vatakumivuza kuli kuna ni vatu vavainanga mwa manyalo kapa mwali vato mo kuna ni nyansi vakengisa kuli vasava kunanuha kapa kusia ona linyalo lani kengisa kuli kuna ni vanana kana ona kalulo kikalulo yeo mutu ukona kuzwela pili kunyanda vakengisa kuli upepile vana
Kakuyakana nivona kuli hatuna yeo kakuli vanana vakona kutusiwa neke kuli vatukele vakawahana vakona kutusiwa manzira ya kuvalumeleza ze vatokwa kakweli palo kapa kaviki kakuyaka ze vatokwa ike ava kuli mwendi iswanenge tolongo kuti vakesa kuli kuna ni vana pateni kuti kere kuva ni tolongo vati lituso zikona kuya kwa vanana kuli kapazizwa kumusali kapazizwa kumuna kuyafera yahimbire vanana vale koba kukuzibona kuli vanana vava kakukumani yale omungu azirapiri kusa vanana ahulu
hawa nasepa mufitize maikuto amina ni vaha musikale kakale muhala wepitezi
nifaha nisikale kakale muhala wepitezi
hawo mole kalili
munipangere sikuatafa vatu group vanikolekere shere ni vanilekere muhala wepitezi
kapa vamikungulele hava kunani vavananomo vamikungulele
vanikungulele kuti kunani vavakakungulera ona
mane vatene vavakungulela
akikuli kafera una selu ipodela ona
mane vasalitele vavakungulela ndati
okay
eni
nikalika swala moni mwani kuli nileke muhala wepitezi ino ikolanga kutereza famaketi
eni mulika huluka tata
nitivo bomanalisamo abiga
ensha
ishangwe
luitumezi
nitumezi heva kuli kuna ni vavaka kono hanisika lavera masivaka vava bale vavaereza vatu kona macounselors kono heva kuli kuna ni vavangu vavakona kunetera fateni maikuto neruka nevaka nepera maikuto kakuli ifaki disclaimer eni yeza kuli heva kuli kuna niweni tumkire maikuto vasike vanga kuli mwendi kivona vana nivulera kono maikuto aka ani ipelelezi pamoya ahulu
luitumezi nani sepo yakuli vautwile
ahulu
ansepo ulikula ni vavatumkirwe maikuto fa
vavangu esi vali kuti one man's food is one man's poison chosacha yomungu kisifano kona kuli hapene pata kuli vala maikuto aka kuli koba muzivire nguli yale epi koba munata kona kwaya mwanzo mwakushoba omungu wofumane hapo mwazambezi mukavulera kuli mukaivea kuli kuva mukava kwaya kashurwe mukavona kuli onaona kwani mutu kwani kwanatiwa ihulu ona vatu vovanzi mali vatola lanyandiso mukavona kuli kona kovalata hulu vakesa kuli vona vavona kwateni kutalala adizivi muri kavulera masiku wa green pasture tapamani havalati kuzivahala kuli kuna mize fosa hezi vakesa kuli vazivahalire kuli vanyezi kapa vanzi mali vato ni mutu yavona hala hande masikava kono mutu yo yena munyandisi wavona twale lui ze onatava yo vasike valapere makulu zeo kono vamambere kwateni vupiro kakuli vupiro havulekiwe
ni hii vupiro havulekiwe
na keni siloli
havu yavuire
havu yavuire teto kero luza hulu
lwitumizwa Hendrik
ishangwe kona kuli vavali vasauti kuluza vule peto kero maiva usito uyire kuya kuyelela
ni hoshoshwire
hulu
hoshoshwire
kona alusomera kwikola vupiro nikuketa vupiro vovo ndeona paalusatira
lusonera kwitata kilona linzi lusonera kwitata
shangwe iri kuli vatu nivona vanhu vatu
ninivulelanga kuli hoko ni kulata ahulu mutu kufita moilatela wena muni usaba wa mayemo akulata ahulu mutu kapa kulata ahulu vatu kufita moilatela wena kanyanda mafupilo kanyanda hulu mafupilo
kakuli nivona vakafumana fateni mayemo akuko haterera
ahulululi bakavona kuli maana alisayone hanika muyeza chwana nanika muyeza chwana hakuna kwaya yo
esikoda
halo
chale muvule kuvoda
hensha
vosinengera vateni
aki vosinengera kivalize vavalizize famuhalo mumwini vona kivopita
vati
vopita mtozi chwani
mtozi chwani mumere ape
hensha
mumere teni vona vulera fone vavazi
kivo Hendrik va
ni tume vopita
murumere tata
ni nendo murumere vapita momo mukere muno machite mazambezi mali mpungi mukere
mavitu tukere
mborotu nendo mutere kese kumai kuto mkwesinduamba
maenda ke ukazira katika ndashwicha
mbulyo machiru kirima monchite mutrera
yo machiru kirima wato
mbulyo machiru kirima wato majivoko buya
ni
kukabo kanti
abe mwavolera sifwe nenda mwasivulera hande
navulera sifwe nisimbalangwe nisisuvia
okay ke hande vopita nivona valizezanga kwateni vaterezanga kanti vopita maneke vaterezi valuna vao
vati
ke vaterezi vao vatuna hulululi
vopita kanti havakona hali heva kuli vaterezanga kwa
wireless vana litohonoloka kuli esi wireless mwamulenengi moisa utwahala
sahulo
ya utwahala fampwito chole hakuna livakale vasakone kufa kuli andisikatereza kakuli wireless itimile ingemina cholo
vati na kina maizire kwani
nikona musikia maviraela
nahulu
musikia maviraela
nika salimera cholo kunyambe kuli nikaeza kaufera kuli tumande fatu nikashere nimileke muhala waitite
luitumeze
nimilaize vopita nivona vapita
cha
mushareho tata nene muzwire havuso
palitumeli tata
ni murumerise vamunya vakere mavituku
mutukwatile kwezo twaja kukwata kumunziko
onemele fone musika yakwa munitenge
kwa munitenge nenisikaya kateni nineluvona fera viluluwezo neluvona fera vatu vane valuluweza mwatolopoku yakwateni nakwenyu lukayo akwateni nehekesilimbasetanu liwapaka kateni
ke hande
Ahulu valubere va vindukuli. Dipenda ni na hulu kusona.
Ensha.
Kota sa Windu Multi-Purpose Youth Resource Center. Ni College of the Arts. Wakazeo tonda hulu.
Aha.
Kwa hiyo hanikata hapo nikatokera kwa tino na kwa heba kulikuna ibo bakani amuhera kwa mulene peto nikatofika kwa tini kuri bakazende hulu kuna zeo.
Aha. Haluteni mamulene. Shangwe.
Ni tume mutole hande.
Shangwe mutole hande ni mina.
Ninapita nabo bashare ho. Muso.
Share ninja tapo.
Ndatumeri.
Bopita.
Ya.
Mosari kukena lili famoya. Sha. Mosari kukena lili famoya.
Ba sari kukena bwebi ha serikali mimi.
Tawa.
Na serikali maana kwenge toka tarabo masole fateni. Serikali kaya wapete toli baranga nambo na L7
Esena vale ni como kilo likashano muikonle.
Tentoli bachana toli panga toli zanga osinenga baratukwa baterize so masole. Ape to just in few minutes ya kuli mwenda kwa station. Like sentola sangu batoli sasa. Otherwise unasaba lotokera chwana. Nape milami omata nukiwa siao sento ikapayolo sata wonto. Ani tenge exam.
Ese ina butata hani yenge kwa likazani. Ani zivi butata bwana.
But puzo yaka womanali. Kona kweli eva ezanga pashikize kweli.
Inge kiono na July.
Not August.
Inge ki July kakuli lusata luinzi mwa akima September.
September
Eso na kwa July inge ki July.
Ai. Kantina gina alianga. Nanu baba ezang ma August.
Bati.
Mane nizibe kuli abaweza va ameza kwani. Ndio la terera. Chore face like ndio masura kan siguro. Ndio ba ume ndio bonjenje ma. Sio bala bonjenje mako.
Bonjenje ma baswanira kuli batene bonjenje ma namboze ni bona.
Apento amsa ongato wo masure ko.
Nene hate. Mane wa masule balumere fera kakuli. Na fera haninzi kwa haya yani. Musiye batu bahapeleze bondate kuti baniseverisa. Ani pomi. Au hakine eski batu kuti hanile kwa haya kwani kuti hanila tukuzwa kwa haya kwani severisa sa bondate me botata hamko ni kuutwisisa. Mabona nani ozwanga kwa mlening. Nani ozwanga kwa mlening hape na aziva kuli nako yaka hakienga tahulu kuli ninele kunoya kwali vakaze shutana uli ninele kunovona batu kono nivuleranga kuli abata kunivona lwa mwamuhela kwa na maluvi mwabona ya abata kunivona wako na kutaha kutonivona kuna loirwe wena
ala tu kena kapule yetu nao
kuti nisiseveriso ani mipumi
bona vavulele kula tavuli vavulele but na la tu kena kapule
baba vule vazeo kono lusiye fera kakuli fera batu bali iskona vutata
bali vala vera
batu bali kona vutata kakuli bali kuli neluyanga kwa mandu avona kono ne batongo kanga
Uichaza fera mezi
Eni mawe habaleki malaite habafitire mu mandu mo bonjenje mabalutolisa
atole ni bona
Eni mawe habaleki malaite hapanzi bya nabulezi batu bakwa hayekuli usazwa kwani kwa mleningi unani pokoto Anzi bana babulezi cholo kuli hoyo fitafandu yabona baputa mazoho likakafela
akakubulelewa yo
Eni likakafela zisiala mu mazoho hao baputa mazoho chwana
Kiwaya this thing in each and every person hands kwa Zambezi ko. Matoza one.
Kono bona habataha kwanu batoputa mazo. Mwishungulita bayo. Bona habataha kwanu kwa vukuwa baputa mazo. Hakuna sevaweza. Kono mina hamuzwa kono hamu ya kwa hae. Bayo puta mazo ule na mina mwezeli kakaofela.
Ulwa ma SNT bao.
Bao bakataza bao. Isi girishe. Nani kumba benigani ni beningire kali kufiteranga kuna. Muye mwoli pa ma guest house mwafi wanga mali.
Mufare ndio muzo kubeninganga batfare.
Mane lale ni beningire kali ni bona bazi baba SNT. Bakuli file masherenga kulu yoli fa guest house kono kwanu kuna batakutoina kutinevele 5 kwa wapale rakoleka.
After 6 guys kwa haya phone.
Kashamashe bgateki tobone wakuta.
Kuna phone nganga mina kinga mkuzisechwa.
Mina ni chwale kona tabeni bula batu bali balaka kuli haruzwire mamando avona nikubona kuli kwa haye kwa bupilo kwa haye buchipire bupilo kwa haye buchipire hape bashemi ukayoshwa kutwa mark pavanda tawo kuvurela kuli hoyo leka sestrana hape hoske watanse sestrana kiskamanyi ki kwa pilo ya hao we namungi kuvona kuli fani tire kwa haye zeni lekela bashemi baka kizifi zezi toko halafa haye kilifi mabona niyo na seri problem tele nani zivuli batu babatangi mavupilo
fali faso pilafa
nahani zivikuli batu babatangi mavupilo kakuli batu wana vani palezwi ndati vani palezwi
batu vamipale wa musaizi musapila
kona hani yanga kwa haye nikuwa ikinela yawe kapapa vulela ngani vila na ikinela kwa haye ngato
otherwise mizo iketa ande kwa haye nikuwa feza zere mera
mana luizo iketa maso chale silami
neno zinyima ka sebezi numbuleka mukakera
onizo pangisa skolo saka nesisika yezi bavatu bene nisile kuli basiyezise ani mipumbi au nizo pangisa skolo sikwalo saka nisaliko sisi ya January bopita sikwalo saka nisaliko sisi ya January sikwalo inge nivuza viki navuza Squalo saka. Hakuna. Mane, viki ya ninge kuli viki etahana ya. Seni mavulela kuli. Nigato ipangisiza squalo saka se ukakuli. Kele nikatala kuno mivuzanga. Nako ninako, munifafela ma stories. Nizo pangisa squalo saka. Fahani vulela ni mina. Spangirwe hande sakia.
Development ni ona yeo.
Ni.
Kwa kuli kimi izo isi yara mange.
Izo siala kwa mchembele kwa mdala. Nani batakwa ikuleka kono.
Batoza uno sieranga mateni.
Nani batakwa ikuleka sani bwana kuli. Kwa utohala kuli kimbone na muvukuru kono haku yezu wangi chwalo.
Mane ukuleka mazazia kwa haya kusepa.
Akusepa hali kwa haya?
Mane ukuleka fera ki. Eva sa shwa kwa shwa mgao sita mgao. Eva hapa.
Mana haiko na hali chole hoto kwa kuli kuyezi weska
mukaya
lona basa ikeri fera kwa hevo pita mana fani kutwa kuli hakuswani nizo ina nizo pota hakuswani
fami zo ina faluli mane no pa mwende last week ona fera batswana kuli mtoza famu nilikali fumasa basali wali kwa hayo mane
nizo inafana hani kaya December famwendi nevele viki.
Esmane nesona hopakuli esmane hopatizo mana isapeto kifali shasha. Nesona kandele ya kwa.
Fali shasha kakai.
Kwa isi speed kwa hapeto awasana tazanzan.
Mana hakuna nenvatafela kwa vora vondate nensalo valingi hande. Wanda tene basazo yihande. kona sene sinisi za kwa haya mali nenso na kuli kapanile kali nenso na kuli kapanile neli mwa April mwana ngeneli mwa April chale happens la se topa chale fa se ntoba na kuli ni efela kono nizo bafumana se bainze hande
beta mule matufe
kubona hala uli miliani ene nilekile kwanu izo seveza kuli nibona baizo ilumba maso kuli miliani ene mulomezi kwa kubona hala kuli ya seveza luli
mani mishemi niko sina muliani helo kuli maotwana luli sawa fitafea wafola
ni ahulu luli sini na kona tabene ni koma kile kuli ona tuliani liani fa twa ntone ni lomezi kona toto mi foli size tate uta mana muliani wanu uberekire maso okay kinayo kifo
wasono bulero na zeo
vatu vakataza vopita
nina nikanisha pile kwanu katuku
nemoni vulelezi kuli nemkulile ndati
bati gastric kantola longo aito natanga neli wansi festa Madrid
how muzo unonwanga koki madrink
mani wala kuli mwendelizo katene
muzo kwa madrink chole mawi
kono koki munati mina
iona yoko neti sona zeo
koki munati
ona yoko neti sona zeo chole hakuskaye za machwe habaskafu mana machwe
mati tale nyani man
hakuna machwe mana muzo efera kwa koki muzo efera kwa likazena ni gasi munguna onwanga fera majuisi ni muchapi
man shenja kukabila lo muzirire ha mchware
mukakonanga kunwanga muzirire nako ni nako mwana juice foku mwana mchapi kono kwa madrink zozeza muzefera kuzona zakuri sazeo
reply now lipuzo za msona uvoza zeo
lwambozi kale luli vezi nikuli lunzi pamoya
esikona antulile fateni mole kuli afa udako
hauna ukuta kwa ngambolo fa
Wewe na kibihara yao na kibihara Nikale kwa Francina kahongu. Bali peze peli vao. I think mulero wabona nana supporta ule mwana migdi abatu banyanda ni. Wanafaa ni foku yezanga kule kama 15 16 17 chwana. Sasa tanga uli.
Mana mwende mulelo luto wambola kamsone ni uvoni. Mwende luto wambola kamso handendendende. Luto wo mana ki nitumeza hulu kuni hupesa kuli nini ivoni tavayo.
Luye kuva kuti remove za kuli mutu asa nanuhi.
Asa nanuhi nganya ndiswa kisikamai.
Upana kwingine ukewa hapa ni topic ona kono watu wesu batwara nikapanika ali masulozi wesu kainzi na kwetere moho ukafuma kuli mwende ya nyandao apekena na nili ratu kumuhabwena kutatao kuli ananuhe Nima excuse sa kuli vana kivakawa nyanda vati la kivana isachi. Kiye namungi. Akuli akuta kwa mfumana hapi yaka yazira upitiro kwa hai kushita yenu. Niti.
Chwale kana zako na halazi ochale vatingi vasiri kunoshwa.
Manza zako na halazi zaiza malifasi mwopia. Zaiza aluli.
Batenga basari kuno timera.
Kuno pire kwa kwanto kwanto.
Kwa Havana. Kwa hongo kapere kwa hongo. Kwa hongo.
Hongo sibali kwani.
Hapa na hane zivi kwa tena na kwani.
Mani ki last location kwa Havana semua kwa kanja.
Deno tule fera kwa tena.
Fomu wako na anza vihanga na kwa fera kwa pala.
Kote na yo vihanga kwa mapokola na koni na kona yo vihanga kwa mapokola mani mapokola ne baziva kuli. Ki domestic relationship. Kuna ne domestic abuse. Chalefonga fonsa azivukuli hana yo vihanga komapokola na yo kwa ulisanga mzeko kapachoneka uli nani zivakuli o kwa ulisa mzeko bamutama yesi
General protection into Nebraska mufa.
hani sepi kunema hava inge esi ni uture maombu na kuli neva ina hamo hoko ni kuunga protection order kumutu yo inaniena
Mani yako na
kumutu yo inaniena
ni yako na
mandu ilingwi wapita Algo one
has to decide what is next. Yako na halaluli.
Algo one.
Na woman. Yomu wako na kututa mateni kwa ikinera kwani. Someone's decision on whatever, what will happen, what must happen.
Algo one.
Amweze Google. Mina computer ama internet asafiri.
Vapita, au. Algo one. Protection orders. Hani kuna anto nivataka lavo ya kuswani na insinzi ze terene. Nivataka lavo ya kuswani. Algo one. Na hani zivina zemu. Hani zivina zemu vulega kuli nivona kuli. Likala waza nifumani zivulela fa kuli wena mungu wako na kungisa protection order kukona kuistirete za wena mungu. Kumutu kapa limemba za Ulwazi baba konle kukutaseza. Kapa kunyansa.
Kuliaza maelewa.
Nisori kuno vataye moblesi kuli mwandu ilinga.
Member wa Ulwazi. Kola foi tokenera fo. Member wa Ulwazi mpuga ngosistani bala wamina.
Kona insinge mwandu ilinga.
Ino iworesera wanyana lisaka kataziyo. Zaiza langa zibonanga, zaiza langa uli.
Chale mwandu ilinga chale for kakuli nani ziba uli protection order.
Mwandu ilinga ikava chwana. Cha? Mwandu ilinga one has to move out. Yai kutwa kuli ma rights haya afoselizo kapani butisha ndi temu chirozi. Chivaka ondachi.
Siloza paka onda.
Ya luvalu virwento, ya luvalu wezinto ma butisha ndi te chirozi shikabonda. Oli na fosekezwa. Azwemo. Kuyeza kuli waka yakaofera yo yasiyeza asikamulaterera.
Sina wana nene mivolela yo kuli.
Either sivakola kutale makiwani tava kuli ya nani mata fasi vakafufu vaenzi kimangi. Yava kuli musari kena nani mata then muna usola kuzwa mateni. Yava kuli muna kena nani mata musari usola kuzwa mateni. Until further hava kai kutua kuli kaofera bona. Kile vaeza resolve my problems. Vakuta what can happen ko bula kuli now things kile kuta manormal lokola kuina amo. But for that duration here ukusikoka kufumana akuli yoyo musasuno yanga kokwa enzio. Obya sivako na kutama chwale.
Ensha.
Changwe.
No muteni.
Kele ni ozo kwani kule ni matezi yo. Okastava.
Mutaz chan.
Ande mchwale wapita.
Ande.
Wapita. Asario.
Wapita. Ha.
Wapasue.
Wapita hapa na mwileka. Hapa na mwileka.
Sini kukomgori mtolai na masura vali ukenda fate peto kile zikala zeo.
How? Como hala wapoda kwani nekola bola.
Hello.
Hello. Amulutu.
Hello.
Wapita hamulutu.
Mami anime uti vali ukenda tu masura peto anisa mi uti.
Pode me drop pili.
Quase muito hala.
Nzeri meu uli andi 12.
Okay.
Ombe minha mãe só não vai dizer que será série vai vai zozo kwa hengi basa itumira kuli bange paseo.
Esse coisa.
E parcelo muito fumani tem parcelo.
Então a escapa manda cara quase niona.
Não tô ninangira colega.
Não tô ninangira será esse.
Manene nso na auto minangela chela nafane nseri kusesa bopita gole. Hani zivi. Mushitu wana maluvi hani ukeni peto ni ukeni.
Como ndemaso.
Koko ndemaso kulokwani. Keni kwateni mane wakona kulivala uli kuna ni sepso no sepsa famoya kuli mane hani katofita ko. Walivala puchi heso hoka yokuta kono to hupula kuli. Kono ni kata. Sha.
Kimiselo mangezi fana maluvi.
Miselo.
Kono miliva isa kupotela.
Kunani munchinga, kunani kings mulutuluha, kunani mutente, kunani mukumati.
Umasule. No. Basali baba ni vulezi kuli bali zero kuli bali kwa haki bomdawe ni bakula kono baizo beza sala musebezo wa squalo peto.
Unizo desisika yezo wa squalo saka ni December hanta role ka squalo ka wale sina ntrole na fera viki. Ni trole ke la squalo quando yaka mini fileta ya kuli squalo siyezi we kuna ni vena vai papatire kuli bakasi yeza kono ni ka chenu le squalo sona baskasi yeza. Jare hani ofita kwa hae senyo yesa squalo saka. Handende. Kakuli nesi vei refera masaze anene ninzi kwa tene nesi vei refera. Jare nesi saki nevele kukia nesi nzi fela bukabali. Ni chale famu tuturo yesa handende squalo sa chale bopita base hani bakandekera.
Squalo sio kisafande kapakisa mwa haliado.
Kisafande. Ni kisafande.
Okay. Wopita.
Sure.
Baba ni namba ni womanda lisa kwa papa ntongela nzi kwando. Nima kulela kuli damense no pa kuli kwa dama ferele zwanto
asipakalisha.
Mani ni upulavi. Nemi upulavi ni no tavona yo.
Chala hana mskani buza kingi vopita.
Na ulitezi fera kuluto kumina pira kulukatulera kwa to ingo sazu kulikazama.
Wa sizuma iteni hakuna kwa ya sizuma.
Akuli esi ma statement ena hizi faki akuli. Na mumatanga muzamange mukupa zeni za nchwele nange sinu paole fa vapasi zeva saliva.
Mukuno hupulanga chwalo kanti mwendi na kwembu kaeza chwalo.
Kwa sakulia mwendi fava sono kandere afalisha shafa keva hupa kuli tunawokele ya.
Akashasha.
Kutoka radio ya FM wopita. Nini upula kuli mwendi wese wa sezi mama mwanye FM kwa hai.
Mani kuna nyana ni voice yabo na basaliva mubuleza andikiniti ya uli.
Hawo habe kimangiyo.
Kuna nyana ni voice ya mina kwa hae.
Hawo.
Koloni kama sereza honi kama ibulea na kwemi.
Ninanga munibulele uli kimangiyo.
Kuna nyana ibulea ngini.
Kono mwanyi kona wale sietelezwa kwa hae kwa hape na hanska mutu akale king.
Mani nikafita fate no na fo. Na kwemi.
Nikalitela noto kuli kimangiyo. Mwendi kwana kwade nizo kopisa kakule sipo kwa nini kwa tensiri mosesinge.
Woma sue. Utivana kapavasari vakombelela sizwale mwala bona inge vanyanda kingi.
Inge muvulaiwa inge muipulaya kingi.
Iwo piro mwenezi upiro na chwalo. Eni sezala kuli amu ya kwa kulaela kwale, Baba lwa me vula chana kuli. na hao ni bwana ke toske tama ya moani mkuku wa hao va kwa ni bosi kwa hao va ufitire mwali kaze ngata ufitire mo matata ufitire mwali kaze ngata ndira swale ni mwali kaze ngata kama kule ni vile kachima kule baza hao wale mimi basile kama sasa pale ni bwana bosi kwa hao
kunatiwa
nikapa kunatiwa kapa esinde kunatiwa ko fomu kikalimelo sha kamutala umanasa musalaka sha kumutala nifa tani wao yera kwa bako mkoko wasa kusompezi mninto sompezi ninto ni mikadami nani ansito kwina da de mwaya kwa bawa mozo ko dofta mbe mezi skeli kila katrabi tukwa pia mwapi nakaza bakuli kala kwini nana tukuli milu kurule sha nimekalimela na kalobaka sima iwara bali mekalimela kapasa kuli kalo ye anito kwa alisapi wena kwa teni bati ko isipa kwa teni bienya ye maswe yo izu kuyona sima iwara kona kuli hangata kunatiwa aita usukuli mwenzi kia abuse vati babamwi bacha koke baza birizi kuli musari ya sanati ya sanati hamulati watoka azama ya kote kuona pere musari ya lata kula pere ni yena wa mukalimera nela kapafa kapalubaka
kunani nao twisisa kunani kukalimera hape wapita wapita hape paluweza chani hold kunani kukalimera kunani evavuliranga mwasikuwa kuli domestic abuse domestic abuse mukafumana kuli mutu yani unata musala hae nako ninako kapa musali yani unata muna hae nako ninako nevereska ses tokwa fera kwa ambola kuli mwambola mukafumana kuli hakuamboliwi kwa natiwa yoko ne alusere kwa ambola fayo kuli chale vatu baba inanga ona mama nyaloani ni mwali vatolani kiskamang
kile kaze perize taloze mwateni mo bo probazi ya mwifaka butata financial support suru kwa basari ubona kuli iyo ni kwada ni buhari jwana kono hawana dinande na chande cha au plakuli usiezeo kali bakala la buhari bwa haye bwo kweza kayo kabona hanga tatu wafika kupalelwa foko mu financial support yo na ibapala kaulo yetu na hulu yeza blind kulimbana mutaba kulimbana mutu foko mane yo za enda kushwera mali nyala mutawaleo kali bakala kuli we is bribed by the financial support
ole hakuna kwa kona kuya
akole kwa kona kuya nikuli yena uli munaka ni kwana ni buhari awana nacha na zali kamanyi mane hangata kuna ni pila wa Zambia ye kula kuli wena tenge wena mangete ni ukaya kupita pita kwa mwako tibane pita ena mwenda shereni haukaya ku Melvin ya bulikiri ule isiba yawada kwati upira ni na yo muzi hami kwa ya hae zeni uitwa ile zeni weza dapukiona akamuka pia kuri evi kuri mina akoda sinaka kalimba mwali fasimo amuka pia hakuruke kwenda sera 1 nana za 5 bungata manyala abaza zaka manyala ka fa da manyala sa yazila ma 20 years sa kulumba vuze mu afima mwana za mafitiri maistri abona bakani vula ko ba fire mu mali tabaze tata tuna zeba sorelani kulibale mwambe uleta ba hae gavula ko kambe kinda kambe nezikala zinela zona sibai wana Fere tolerance ngale sima kubatiri kwa utwagulera so mtem zati mu tolerance koronga vangi ngenza abuse.
Ona yo tolerance mutu inga abuse desconnect ri kunotisa mafu.
Yasa mafu yona ngeni kumasa mafu.
Tenape ndio nape. Koromani kinto umasole. Lipiro zao na baba nchama za lipiro zao za shutana. Yaona abuse kikuvula kikuhorofa za ruli. Kikulova. Kona kuna takiwa kulemula musaliko. Deva huru bati. Abayizi ze kuna takono abana tuwana kweza kulimani musali kuzamara musana kusokera.
Wakumbola.
Ni baba kachano bavula yaba.
Ese mani basali bani bakale vale. Wabale bani tumya kubula tena kuli muna sakona takulati.
Mani mapengo kona to system yaba naniona yeo. Adamara. Osa muna tukali kashaka ruli kulimani ofita kateni ruli.
Kute mone asa kulate hakunate.
Kuna ni ala ta ya soruweza kazecho.
Ya sori kuyonata. Hawa mendeka pe kufa mashere nisi ngunata baya.
Wana toiko kuwa mashere.
Okabaita pe kufa mashere nisi ngunata ndati.
Wopita. Kwa kungana kwa mashere.
Wopita.
Sawa.
Ye kushara sala mwendi 4 minutes sese kapa kama minutes.
Ni ki 4 minutes. Sine kalile kalenge ni mivisa ngeni mikoveta uli hamtahe kele ni vulera hola yami na kele siya.
Ngala wopita kise. Nipari mefandwa au na ena kwe. Kuonala kulindwa pele fa madefa ya pili bane zimbuvo. Ye kuonala kulichale fa kutota sezi kulokwa. Kutota sezi luli. Kia kufuasa hala luli.
Kena kufuasa hala?
Hulu. Kena kufuasa hala luli. Naiba oiru niona manto oiru niona keka kupahama.
Bakwa lirenzila.
Amerika wapale
Alozisa kuli fasi ya kai. Kuli vai bali nyibona bali ni basu pela mamasu usavona. Nibona basukula kuli ni undalo anata. Kola kuli alosa za usika besika ngaswaka.
Wana teni kambe
bawe. Sa?
Ini kambe manzema natire.
Neka cheko files as cheka. Konone ni wana I think for the past last week fan. Ada wale na zaza kuna tate zale. Mwali na ambaye kama kutuba Jordan yani. Last week yani.
No South America kere natakumerera kanta kulize ni nyupirento.
Malikata.
Nikuti yezenge do Iran. Bora Amerika kuna sema kafumana kwa pensara nikuti Trump yana sali teza aisenta kwa Congress lazima kapaka rumela kapata.
Kando votata wa Trump kivufi.
Neuza fani kuli. Iran inanitota pesa konai. Trump enoziva kuli unanitota but not Iran. Not Iran. Mani Iran hai. Ukauzwa fafa kula fuenga sakwa nisizaeza Trump. Kapawa.
Kule bali watu sasa kule ndwaye haba kule ya bwana babiraeli.
Mali vai tukuserizeri kini.
Bali kapaya ingari limozeka bali kuna mutatalie.
California na Trump tarimezi fa asipakava nilike tazamampo. zama kapagima mbea kapagima kama marikiti mo.
Eh.
Kenya na toa za sava 4 ukora mbona kalento strategy na sanyaho twae. Watu wabona kulikantuae za petu vavotere ma America mama akuli America mantwa ulibakazapo na swala ngento. Inge inge city like Cape Town and so on. Uliva kuna kuweza mela yabo na widati mwetereli wana. Seba uliva swala uliva vote fa tiki November samwezi. Then wala kulinyo nayo ikarezeo nayo. Akuliva Democrat fa so no mkena anya. So eba naidu last week eba na Trento Iran va America. Kona kuli anizizi wengine opa kuli mabulela kona muzika eza ali kazeo. Era kona muzika akuli polero ni mukuza shuta.
Kunaona hananga felalika.
Nesiano kwa sawa kuweza kulifakiri kupanga la petrol la fedha. Kwa fedha la fedha. Akuli nibana terese pesa sa India ni mai stepe mai sana. Kwa kushire 11 something like that. Kuna stepe sina na tire ba sita. Leo nabasa mwenda nikapakia nikapakia Amerika ile na 13 pesa. Claro, ni Russia ni mwana ni kuna tules between Russia and the Ukraine kuna tules penso na sa hapa sina mindset. Pero uzini somo zikaza maya. Sisi msomo zitani na mama soe. Na sasa zitani mama zazia. Kama nalisa?
Sha.
Ni fata. Mukute famishini wabo sinenga bo basebeli sanga mo ngudo ungeranga tsabazeo.
Wo monshino wabo sinengela oni sazibi nikuziba.
Abo nokuta nditeze sabazibo fo bakakalera.
Singe bo sinengela.
Ese batavire masuka chikwa bateni wada.
Mane bona ne bakalire kali kuno ne batanga baomea nata. Ni kam solo tombo la taverna ari paise peli. Mutu ile sukulu.
Yari kama hii?
Yari paise peli.
Ki proposa yezo operamenti.
Kamso.
Ali tumezi.
Ensha. Bye bye. Yenshangwe ki hande halukon lektona hamo fakona folka emira marzazi la kachenu mikona mana lisamaschava selikozo. Bye bye.
My friend, why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Saima, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-288-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
Lipuranengelo wapumbwa Eva tere ulikoni maundu tutoingida ashike kapeno nweku dite opoye ekukulile. Oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana. Onongeshe fa yapumbwa kukaraya kovano. Okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna ebitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu konda doi nawa. Nuneudo otukwetera o special ngeta shake ngeshefa omarudi dayo loka opone ushendi fenawa nokumona oijamoiri nawa ningepata fanona Monica ko Eagle FM onora etatu imwe bali heali nola natu heali bali no heali ile ko berewa nora hetatu natu bali o hetatu batatu o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to On the Radar News Bulletin with me, Devin Shombe. It's 4 minutes past the hour of 1, and it's the 27th of July 2026. And you are listening to On the Radar News Bulletin. We are greeting policymakers, economists, trade analysts, and everybody who look at Namibia economic and also human development. We look at issues of governance, policies, and also trade analysis. We also look at matters of current affairs and also what we need to do, especially when it comes to acceleration of development. Today, like any other day, we'll be able to give you what is currently trading, what is currently happening, especially when it comes to practical application of national development. We look at the regional affairs and also international affairs. First in our list, we'll be able to look at the international, or we look at National Statistics Awareness Day, especially that was commemorated today, where you'll be able also to listen, especially to presenters and also speakers of the day, to say what is the necessity of national statistical data, what is the importance of evidence-based data. We'll be able to look at what happened, especially when Bank of Namibia and also Namibia Statistic Agency made sure that they celebrate the National Statistic Awareness Day, and also to look at what can be done, especially when it comes to evidence-based decision making. From there, we'll be able to look at the main conversation for today, especially when you look at the aspect of SACU, to say when it comes to the oldest custom union in the world, that is SACU, what will happen, and also how will be the reaction of the dominant economy, that is South Africa, especially when it comes to SACU members deciding to close their borders and also make sure that they focus and prioritize on sustainability in terms of their food production. We'll look at the reaction and also moving forward. From there, we'll also be able to look at United Nations Security Council and also prioritization of value addition, and we'll also be able to look at international relations and what is happening in the globe, and most importantly, what is happening in the globe that can be able to affect what we do here at home. So stay tuned. We are here until the hour of 2.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests and callers are not those of Eagle FM and any
My
of its
friend,
staff.
why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Saima, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional, and church events. And basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-288-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
lipuranengeno wapumbwa evatero ulikoni maondo tuto ingida ashike kapeno nweko dite opoye ekukulile oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana onongeshefa yapumbwa kukaraya kovano okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna emitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu kondado inawa noneudo otukwetera o special ngetashake ngeshefa omarudi dayo loka opone ushendi fenawa nokumona oijamo nawa ninge pata fanona Monica ko Eagle FM onora itatu imwe bali heali nola natu heali bali no heali ile ko berewa nora hetatu natu bali o hetatu batatu o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
Eagle FM lets you express your constitutional rights of freedom of expression without fear of favor.
This is actually, to put it mildly, an economic scandal.
Fraud.
Not fraud, it's a scandal.
Scandal.
Why do you give a tender to somebody who does not have capacity to build? Why should you do that? You know a person that does not have a capacity to build.
Eagle FM lets you talk.
That's why I'm always telling people in Parliament, let me not take up my Katatura manners.
Right.
Because I grew up in Katatura. And I will not hesitate to tell you off if it is needed to do.
Be part of the debate by setting the agenda.
My response in terms of Rwanda at 6% is that we had been there before. We've had 6% growth before. It's not something that Namibia has not achieved in the past, and it's not something that Namibia will not be able to achieve in the future.
Eagle FM, the eye.
Yeah, we are moving forward with On the Radar News Bulletin. As I indicated, before we look at the celebration of statistics, we start with the main conversation for the day, especially looking at the oldest custom union in the world, that is SACU, and also looking at Wandile, Sinlombo. But let's look at my colleague, that is HD, especially who had the conversation with this chief economist and also presidential envoy, especially from South Africa. Yeah, HD, before we look at the conversation, what do you think is one thing that you can take out and one thing that you would like to inform the public, particularly looking at the conversation of SACU and also the member state when it comes to prioritizing their own food production?
Yeah, it's just it's an interesting conversation in the sense that we have this union that we call SACU, like you said, it's the oldest union in the world.
Yeah.
But there's now this friction sort of between the member nations.
Yeah.
Where they are saying some of them, including Namibia, are saying, no, at some parts of the year we don't want South African products. We don't want your South African products. We want to empower our own local industries. We want them to grow their own food. We want them to be self-sustaining themselves.
Yeah.
But now that's causing now the friction that I'm talking about between South Africa and the other SACU members to say, like, for you to close your borders is against what we signed however many years ago.
Yeah.
So there's this dilemma of upholding what we signed in SACU and at the same time trying to boost our local value chains, activate our local value chains. And the conversation that I had with Wandile, he touched on this as well.
Yeah.
So he brought up some interesting points, which I'm sure we'll get to in just a few moments.
Indeed. Then we'll be able to discuss that, especially after listening to this interview.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are joined by a very special guest that is none other than the all-knowing, that is Mr. Wandile Sihlobo, all the way from South Africa. Wandile, how are you doing this afternoon? And thank you very much for making time for us today.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate the opportunity to join this conversation.
100%. So let's get right into it. Today we will be talking about the agricultural value chain. And South Africa is an example of an African nation that has fully engaged its entire agricultural value chain, as you very well know. So now what we are here to discuss is, well, let's start with, are you for or against South Africa's neighbors achieving the same feat as South Africa has done when it comes to engaging its entire value chain?
I mean, look, our viewpoint is always that as the African countries, we should strive for shared prosperity. That means regarding in Namibia, Botswana, Kenya, elsewhere, it's all about how can we increase the agricultural productivity and be able to feed ourselves and the continent at large. But I don't think that can be achieved in a mutually exclusive way, as if one success could be a limitation to another. I think that we can be able to do these things and think about them in a concept of regional value chains and saying how do we leverage each other's strongest points in that journey.
100%. And now speaking of these strongest points, we know that South Africa feeds a lot of nations on the continent. So we'd like to hear from you, what would the economic impact of South Africa's neighbors permanently closing the borders to certain imports. So in other words, can we quantify the economic value of South Africa's exports to its neighbors?
I mean, look, when you think about where South Africa sends its agricultural products and what's the activity looking like with the neighbors, what is clear is that about half of South Africa's agricultural exports go to the African continent.
Mhm.
And of course, in the African continent, you can further segment that and say where, and it's clear that 90 cents, for example, in every dollar that is exported is really within the closest neighboring countries.
Mhm.
And for someone just to get a sense about how much South Africa earns in agricultural exports a year, I mean, it's fairly substantive because it's about 15.1 billion US dollars last year.
Yeah.
So it's no small cent of that. But if then the neighboring countries were over time to see a bit of an improvement in their agricultural production, you would see a bit of a shift of those products from the countries in the region and perhaps maybe going more to other parts of the world, which is a conversation that South Africa has been having about advancing agriculture exports to the Middle East, to
Mhm.
Asia, and many other parts of the world, because there is a recognition that over time, some of the markets in the region and the other countries will see an improvement in production and they won't be needing some of the products that they would have ordinarily gotten from South Africa.
100%. And speaking of these markets, in a recent article that you published, you wrote that you said, we believe the best approach to accelerating agricultural development is to lean on the farm technologies that South African agribusiness can offer. This was now in regard to the governor of the Bank of Botswana, who made a call basically to reduce imports from South Africa. So if you can, for our listeners, expand on this thought. Is relying on South Africa truly the best or only approach for nations such as Botswana and Namibia?
I mean, I think Botswana, Namibia, and other countries in the region can really rely on whatever country they can actually get the products more affordable.
Mhm.
Because the reality is that between South Africa and Botswana and the others, I mean, if we were to go on a basic commercial sense, no one is doing each other a favor. South Africa is not doing neighbors a favor. I know that South Africans, they have a sense when they speak that, oh, we are providing food supplies. You're not.
Yeah.
You are engaging in commerce because a consumer in Namibia is paying for your products,
Yeah.
just like a consumer in China is paying. And I think that there needs to be an appreciation there that no one is a big brother to the next.
Mhm.
The Namibians and Botswana will buy products in South Africa if they can get them at
Yeah.
better quality and at affordable price.
Mhm.
But I think that given the unemployment situation in some of our neighboring countries, and also the fact that over time there's not going to be a heavy reliance only on mining, they have to be thinking about how do they explore the rural economy to its fullest extent. Which is why then for me, I always thought it's good that Namibia and Botswana engage on increasing their agricultural production.
Mhm.
But the point I was against on was the fact of the arbitrary closures of the borders, because it introduces two aspects in here. One, it is against the spirit of the Southern African Customs Union as well as the African Continental Free Trade Area. Secondly, it has the inflationary pressures in the near term for the consumers in both of the countries. And I think also that what we rather than should be thinking about is to say what technologies can we get out of South Africa that can actually assist in Botswana, in Namibia, Mozambique, and many other countries increasing their agricultural practices. Not that South Africa holds the answers to anything, because I mean, until you walk into South Africa and you realize that it is a country of two agricultures, it has its own disparities.
Mhm.
But I do think that it has segments that have best practices at which could be applied, as well as their agribusinesses that can actually provide the technologies that is needed. So my viewpoint was that instead of just randomly closing borders, we should be thinking of a way of saying, how do we have a systematic way so that there is that shared prosperity, no matter then how it's defined and how we are beginning to think about it. But I think the friction that is there and the unpredictability is something for me that I feel that it's holding us back.
Mm-hmm. And so now, speaking of this shared prosperity, do you foresee any scenario where, where the SACCO members can work in tandem to reach a point where each member, has its own booming agriculture industry capable of not only feeding itself, but exporting products to the rest of the continent via now the free trade area? The free trade agreement.
I think that's the only way that this has to happen, because the challenge with this is that if you have one country being the most dominant player over others, it introduces all of the resentment that you get to see. Because now you will have the African Continental Free Trade Area, then you will have South Africa in the south being the most dominant player, and perhaps also over time Zambia. Then you have in the Maghreb region all of these countries, Egypt, Tunisia, and many others. And I don't think that actually lands us into a healthy space, because over time other countries will look into this and begin thinking that at the end of the day, we are not actually getting any better into this arrangement. Then it brings back the old problems of difficulties. So my sense is that we should be thinking about that. And even for South Africa, it's actually a nice hedge in times of crisis to ensure that you can get certain produce from Zambia, you can get certain produce from Namibia and the others. It's not a bad idea to ensure that your neighbors actually grow. And then I think it is at that stage where then we can begin thinking about Southern Africa's food systems, and then we could be the one collectively as a region that are thinking about how do we export produce to China, to Vietnam, and all of these other countries. I think we really have to be thinking quite seriously about that approach instead of all of the fights.
So, speaking now of these fights, in all the analysis that you do, in your personal view, do you foresee this friction getting worse, or do you foresee a more positive outlook in this regard?
No, I think it will be more positive. People like ourselves, I write a lot about these things to agitate people. And of course, I have to write in a ways that sometimes are critical and more direct, so that you can haunt people, because you cannot, this thing is very important. And given the seriousness of it, we cannot be talking about it in a velvet gloves type of an approach, because then it will look like it's not urgent. It is urgent. And I do think that the issue here is not only also about South Africa and it's about also the governments, the government of Botswana, the government of Namibia, of Lesotho, and many others also being open to certain seed cultivars, technologies, improving land governance, because there's a lot that they need to do themselves. It's not that they are being done things by outsiders also. Similarly, with the businesses in South Africa, beginning to think about how then they can provide the necessary seeds, the necessary agrochemicals, the necessary inputs to the countries in our region, as well as the shift in thinking. Because this idea that if you are sitting in Europe, you are a consumer, but if you are sitting in the African continent, you are done a favor, you are provided food. That's not the same thinking. The countries that are buying produce, either it's Namibia or Botswana, they are paying the same price as if you are sitting in Europe. So that respect for consumers is important, because I tend to find that in a psyche, perhaps maybe in South Africa, they tend to see European and the other countries as markets, and then others as if they are assisting, but that's not the case here.
100%, and that's a very interesting point that you bring up. And now my last question for you, you briefly touched on just now about governments being open to new seed producers and so on. In a recent piece, you wrote that it's important for African governments to ease the regulations and permit imports and cultivation of genetically engineered maize crops and other products. So in Namibia, much of the community is against genetically engineered products or GMOs. So if you had the opportunity now to sit with whether it's a Namibian farmer or a decision maker in the agriculture industry in Namibia, what would you say to them to convince them to make use of these genetically engineered products? Why should they opt for these products?
At a most elementary level, I would make 2 points. One, that we are seeing the effects of climate change, and they are not getting better anytime. Therefore, if we want to adapt and make sure that the farmers have the best chance of getting better yields. We have to see what's happening in technology. And now the even better position is that we have well past the aspects of the old school genetically modified seeds. We are now on a new genetic techniques. You are not introducing anything new in the seeds, but you are tweaking the genetics so that the seeds withstand the environment. So it's on that. The second aspect is about we want to get the best yield in an area. It's not okay the fact that if you are farming in South Africa, you are able, for example, to get 6, 7, and even 10 tons per hectare. But if you are in any other country in Africa, you can get like 1.5 tons per hectare of maize. So we need to see a bit of an improvement on that. So it's a yield gain, it's adaptation to technology, but there's a sensitive thing which people always say on who owns the seeds. And I think that's the conversation that needs to be had with the technology suppliers and the seed companies of saying, look, people do not take these because they are also worried about the ownership of these products and what relationship we can enter into as governments, research organizations of the nation countries, as well as the global seed providers. And I think we have to find ourselves into that rather than sitting on the side and say we don't want anything.
Yeah. 100%. Mr. Wandile, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very busy man. We appreciate your insights greatly.
Thank you so very much for having me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were listening the conversation, especially between Wandile Silombo. Sorry for that. And HD. Let us unpack the discussion from a discussion with Wandile. What is your take, especially as a Namibian, for the first point, and also to look at where we want to get into, especially when one of the things that he stated that is still necessary for South Africa to be there, and it's still important for countries to open up their borders and also continue trading in South Africa. From where you are standing, what are you getting from him?
Yeah, I mean, I came into the conversation intrigued to hear how he would frame basically the fact that we need South Africa to survive, in lack of a better words.
Yeah.
And I like the way that he put it, just to say that, you know, at the end of the day, we're just one of their customers.
Yeah.
We are not getting a handout from South Africa. We're paying customers just like the European customers, like the Asian customers, and so on.
Yeah.
So that I found that framing interesting. And I also found it interesting how he said that, you know, your Namibias, your Botswanas, your Lesotho's, all your other SACU members, in order for them to get to the point where South Africa is now, for example, when it comes to having the full value chain activated.
Yeah.
He said that they need to actually work with South Africa. They need to learn from South Africa. Instead of shutting South Africa out to say, we don't want your food, we're going to do everything ourselves. Wandile suggested, no, it should be a step-by-step thing, because he even said that the South African government, the agriculture industry themselves, they already foresee the other nations are becoming more independent, which is why now they are trying to export to different markets. But that's probably something that's not in the immediate future. Maybe in the next 2, 3, 5 years that's when that will now become a actual reality. Because like he said, I think he said 90 cents out of every exported dollar is on the continent. So they are still very much reliant on us, and we are very much reliant on them as well.
No, it's quite interesting to see, especially when it comes to how South Africa is trading with SACU and also with SADC. Then you realize where he spoke about 50%. You realize to say, although South Africa is our number one trading partner, we are not South Africa number one trading partner. We are just one of their customers. But maybe my question could also come to say, when are we going to stand on our own? Because I think it's quite very difficult, especially if you are asking a supplier to say, I want to be independent. It's quite interesting to look at that, to say, what are some of the signs that are going to indicate to us that we want to be independent if it's not now?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question, and it's why I wanted to speak to Wandile, because there's this I don't know a better word, but this friction now between
the countries when it comes to trade. Even though we all as a continent signed this free continental trade area situation, there's still this friction to say, like, everyone knows we get our food from South Africa, so how are you going to go about building yourselves while still keeping a good relationship with the guys that are essentially feeding you every day? It's not an easy thing. I mean, he spoke about also even the yield per hectare. Like South Africa is able to get 5-10 times the yield per hectare than other places in the world. So if you as a country, you can't produce on the level that South Africa can produce, you kind of don't have a reason, or you don't have an excuse to not buy from South Africa, because they are making it cheaper. Even with you importing, it's still cheaper than you that's growing it yourself, and they're able to do it at volumes that you as a country aren't able to, at the moment at least.
No, it's a very interesting conversation to see that South Africa can be able to feed SADC, but a country such as Namibia cannot be able to feed itself. Why can't they give us the technology so that we can feed it our 3 million population if they are able to feed the 20 million people?
Yeah.
Why can't they give us technology instead of us continue depending on them? And also, I think that is one thing that we need to look at, especially when it comes to food security, and also to see what are the Namibian thinking. I think we need to extend this conversation. Maybe just one thing that you think is really necessary to take, especially from this conversation, especially regarding food security and where we want to get into. But before you go there, I want you to speak about the aspect of GMO. Where is he coming from, especially when it comes to GMO?
Yeah, for him, I think the main point that he brought about was the yield. To say that these genetically engineered, is that what they're calling it now? Genetically engineered seeds and so on. They are helping South Africa produce more volume. But then he also alluded to in his answer, like, a lot of people are still wary. They're still scared to say, like, one, who owns this technology that's engineering these new seeds, these new crops, and like what exactly is in a genetically modified organism or seed or whatever. People don't necessarily know what's in there, so that's what they're fearful of. And as Namibians, we, for the most part, we don't consume GMOs. I believe our law says, I think only 5% of imports or something along those lines, like a very small number, is what our law allows for. But in South Africa, that number is much higher. I forget the exact number, but I know it's much higher than ours. So, like when Dila said, he's of the opinion that, it's not a question of if you should use GMOs. His is rather to say, when are you going to use GMOs? Because in his view, and I guess of the wider Western world, this type of agriculture has been accepted to be a safe form of agriculture, a cost-effective form of agriculture as well, which is part of the reason why, South Africa is able to export basically our whole GDP they produce in just agricultural exports, and that's part of the reasons why they're able to do that.
No, it's quite interesting. Lastly, what do you think is necessary not to be left out, especially to look at this conversation, especially what two things that you really think Namibians should take from this conversation, especially if we want to move forward? Because I look at the conversation, I'm coming from the Statistic Awareness Day, and I look at the conversation to say we are still speaking about where we want to get into. But the moment you want to remove those chains, there are always another chain which is coming. What do you think we need to do, especially looking at the conversation to say we are not yet ready? When are we going to be ready to?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a question we speak about almost on every show on Eagle FM. It's like, when is the talking going to stop, and when is the actual action going to take place? And I think we are, in a way, we are fortunate that we don't have to look far to see, like, what does it look like when a government, when a society takes action. We can just look south to South Africa. So I think it's more on the the decision makers, the policy makers, to come together and say, we are on a united front. This is what we want to achieve. I mean, you would think that that's what NDP 6 is. At least on paper, that's what that's supposed to be. But now the actual work, the implementation part, the part of seeing results. A big thing of NDP 6 is that a lot of people don't discuss is, they put like timelines of when they wanted to achieve certain things.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we don't
go back.
We never go back to that part. We only go back to the part where we say, oh, NDP6 says they want to produce X amount of tons or whatever in a year. But we don't go to the part in the same document where it says that, 6 months from now, there should be A, B, C in place.
Yeah.
So, it's on the people who drafted this document, who are tasked with implementing this document. They are the ones that must now come tell us to say, why has A, B, and C not been achieved, or at least tell us what has been achieved in regard to what you planned. So
it's quite interesting that what you have indicated, because today I also ask one question to say, if you have all institution of government and we have this thing of panel discussion every time, all the institution of governments are there and everybody saying we must do what we need funding.
Exactly.
So why not just calling each other?
Exactly.
If you are sitting with the minister every day, if you advise the minister every day, why can't you discuss that in your meetings?
Exactly.
Instead of coming to the public to say, no, for us to achieve NDP6 we need more funding in statistics, which is really good. But why do you have to come to public if those who not really to say your colleagues, but your stakeholders, they are with them every day. But I think it's a conversation that we should extend.
100%.
Yes, thank you, HD, and we'll continue. Yes, let us look at a short commercial break. Then we can continue the conversation, particularly looking at Statistics Awareness Day, and also to look at the speech of the Statistician General, especially when he's speaking to say, when it comes to statistics must be looked at as a strategic decision. Statistical funding must be looked at as a strategic decision, not just part of any decision, so that we look at evidence-based policy making and evidence-based decisions. So let's look at a short commercial break and come back shortly.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests and callers are not those of Eagle FM and any
My
of its
friend,
staff.
why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I am planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Saima, don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM has a dedicated team that can travel anywhere countrywide to broadcast live at any event, such as a promotion, organizational launch, anniversary, wedding, funeral, political or traditional and church events, and basically any event that you wish to broadcast on a national level. Call them now and talk to Monica at 081-270-3727 or the office number 083-288-400. Eagle FM, the eye.
lipuranengeno wapumbwa eva tere ulikoni maondo totoingida ashike kapeno nwe udite opoye ekukulile oshafafana nongeshe faili meholamo ihoetike kovano ile koshiwana onongeshe fa yapumbwa kukaraya kovano okupitiramo Eagle FM otuna evitoda njuka okukwetera oipindi konu konda doili nawa nuneudo otukwetera o special ngetashake ngeshefa omarudi dayo loka opone ushendife nawa nokumona oijamoili nawa ningepata fanona monika ko Eagle FM onora etatu imwe mbali heali nola natu heali mbali no heali ile komberewa nora hetatu natu mbali o hetatu batatu o mafelane Eagle FM the eye.
Eagle FM lets you express your constitutional rights of freedom of expression without fear of favor.
This is actually, to put it mildly, an economic scandal.
Fraud.
Not fraud, it's a scandal.
Scandal.
Why do you give a tender to somebody who does not have capacity to build? Why should you do that? You know a person that does not have a capacity to build.
Eagle FM lets you talk.
That's why I'm always telling people in Parliament, let me not take up my Katatura menace.
Right.
Because I grew up in Katatura. And I will not hesitate to tell you off if it is needed to do.
Be part of the debate by setting the agenda.
My response in terms of Rwanda at 6% is that we had been there before. We've had 6% growth before. It's not something that Namibia has not achieved in the past, and it's not something that Namibia will not be able to achieve in the future.
Eagle FM, the eye.
39 minutes past the hour of 1. You are listening to On the Radar News Bulletin with me, David Shombe. Today, The Bank of Namibia and Namibia Statistic Agency has commemorated Statistic Awareness Day, where the Statistician General, Alexi Mwafeni, has given a presentation, especially to look at the necessity of funding statistics for national development and the importance of statistics when it comes to key decision making in Namibia. Let us look at this communique and come back shortly.
As well as the diplomatic corps. The distinguished speakers and fellow panelists, distinguished guests, representatives, I will not even say collected, they were estimated from South Africa. What they used to do is they used to fly over Namibia, take pictures, and take an estimate and say, this is a household, more or less, size of the household is 5-6 people per household. And they say, okay, this is the population of Southwest Africa that time. If you happen to go to Statistics South Africa, just outside the office of the Statistician General there, you will see some of those pictures that are there. So what I want to demonstrate actually is that the statistics landscape of Namibia has evolved from having been estimated now to not just accurately calculating or enumerating the population, but also telling you where exactly this population is. It is a great honor to join you today in commemorating Statistical Awareness Day. I wish to commend the Bank of Namibia for creating a platform that highlights the critical role statistics play in our economy, our institutions, and our daily lives. Statistics are often taken for granted, seldom receive the recognition they deserve, and do not often get a stage of their own. And this is very important because for the past 3 weeks, I've been able to share a stage where we talk about statistics. When the week before last, we released the marginalized report plus other reports. Last week, we released together with the Bank of Namibia the Financial Inclusion Survey. And today we are here. Yet, there is hardly any meaningful decision taken in this country, whether it's in a cabinet room, a boardroom, a classroom, a farm, a business, or a family home that does not depend on information of some kind, especially some numerical information. We sit around the house table, dinner table, discussing about the house budget. Today gives us an opportunity to reflect on a simple but important question. Are the statistics we rely on strong enough to support the decisions we expect them to guide? Today, more than ever before, we live in a world driven by data. Every major decision, whether made by a government, a business, an investor, or a household, is improved when it is informed by reliable statistics. Statistics provide us with the evidence needed to understand where we are going, and what actions we need to take to achieve our development goals. At the Namibia Statistics Agency, our mandate is to provide credible, timely, and relevant statistics that support national development. Statistics are more than just numbers, as highlighted by the governor in his welcoming remarks. Statistics tell the story of our nation. They measure our progress, expose our challenges, and guide our future. As the custodian of official statistics, the NSA remains committed to producing and disseminating
Do you need toiletries and household cleaners? You won't get it cheaper than at USave up to the 7th of June. Get 250mm jars of Vaseline for only 25 Namibian dollars. Smell fresh with Playboy roll-on deodorant for just 18.99 Namibian dollars. Get 2 kilograms of Surf's hand washing powder for just 49.99 Namibian dollars. Get 750ml Sunlight dishwashing liquid for 28.99 Namibian dollars. And get 2 boxes of Cares Maxi sanitary pads for only 12.99 Namibian dollars. USave, where else?
Of relevant, reliable, timely, and internationally comparable statistics that serve the needs that inform decision-making across government, business, academia, and the wider public. Now, when we talk about statistics being a measure of our progress, I would like you to look at statistics as such, because at times I'm told you release statistics that are bad or that are not good or what, I don't know. I don't think there's any good or bad statistics, but the statistics that are there are the reality. They are realistic numbers that are there. And I want you to look at this like your school-going child, when they come with statistics, with their results, if they got high marks, you cannot just leave it there. You need to ask them to maintain that, to maintain that high standard so that they can pass well. If they are low, you also need to tell them that they need to improve. That is really what statistics is about. So if you say that statistics is bad, look at it that it's room for improvement. It's also guiding us in terms of where to improve on as policymakers. Namibia's development journey since independence has been shaped by data. Through the censuses, household surveys, labor force surveys, national accounts, price statistics, trade statistics, and many other statistical projects, we have been able to track the transformation of our country and monitor progress towards Vision 2030. Gaps in critical data, national effort involving many producers, providers, and users of statistics. This is why investment in statistics must be viewed as a strategic investment and not just merely a cost. Collecting, processing, analyzing, and disseminating quality statistics requires skilled professionals, modern technology, digital infrastructure, regular surveys, population and housing censuses, administrative data systems, and continuous capacity development.
Yeah, that is SG of Namibia Statistic Agency, the Chief Executive Officer of Namibia Statistic Agency, indicating the necessity of investment in statistics, especially for data-driven decision-making, and also look at collaboration approach. He also touched on the aspect of digitalization, emerging of digitalization, and also digital tools such as geospatial tools, especially when it comes to collection of data, and also the usefulness of accurate, timely, and up-to-date data that can be used to upgrade human, lives. Moving forward, looking at SADC level, and also looking at Africa or at the continental level. In Gauteng today, the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has addressed the opening of Pan-African, the 7th Pan-African Parliament, that is known as PAP, and that is also in terms of parliamentary diplomacy, to say different representatives from different regions or different lawmakers from all the regions in Africa. There is a northern region, eastern region, central, western region, and also SADC. They are gathering, parliamentarians are gathering in South Africa, especially looking at the session of the 7th Pan-African Parliament. Looking at who represent Namibia, what is Namibia delegation, especially to Pan-African Parliament, is the Deputy Speaker of National Assembly, that is Philippus Katamero, and also Mr. Rodney Krute, Olivia Anguo, Jimutambo Kuoko, Arferus Ngarusembe, and they are part of the 7th Pan-African Parliament that is starting today and continue. That will start today, and we'll look at what is the speech, especially from the hosting country, that is from President Cyril Ramaphosa addressing Pan-African parliamentarians.
Fata Bavik, President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Vice Presidents of the Pan-African Parliament, the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Toko Didiza, Honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament, heads of the African Union organs and agencies, members of the diplomatic corps, representatives of the Nelson Mandela Foundation who are here present, guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I greet you in the name of the people of South Africa, but I also want to thank you for finally being allowed to come to be present here. I've longed for this opportunity for years, but I've never been allowed to come. So thank you very much. I especially thank you for inviting me. It is indeed my privilege and my honor to address this first ordinary session of the 7th Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Parliament carries the hopes as well as the aspirations of more than 1.5 billion Africans, and it carries the aspirations for peace, progress and prosperity across our beloved continent. It is an enduring symbol, this parliament that is an enduring symbol of unity in diversity, a unity anchored in the conviction that Africa's future must be shaped not only by its governments, but by its peoples, whom you all represent. We gather at a moment when events beyond our shores are having a profound and damaging impact on the lives of the people of our continent. The wars that are raging across the world are causing great instability and uncertainty. Our continent is also not spared the effects of conflict and instability, greater global economic turbulence is caused by all these conflicts and the increasing geopolitical tension that is occurring across the world. Nor is our continent spared the devastating impact of accelerating climate change. In recent days, we have seen destructive fires raging across our sister countries of Africa, in Algeria, in Morocco, and Tunisia, resulting in the loss of many lives. We convey to these governments and the peoples of those affected countries our deepest sympathies for the loss of life, livelihoods, and properties. I think it will be proper for us to observe a moment of silence for those lives that are being lost at this point in time. Please let us observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, these developments make it even more important that Africa should be able to stand together to advance its own development. Mr. President, we congratulate you and your 4 vice presidents on your successful election to lead the 7th legislature. We wish you well for your term of office. We are confident that you will, together with your colleagues, be able to advance the noble mandate of African unity with integrity and with purpose.
Yeah, that is part of the speech of the President of South Africa, especially when it comes to opening session of Pan-African Parliament. The continent of Africa has its own parliament at the continental level that is known as Pan-African Parliament, and where you have various representatives. Namibia also sent the delegation led by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, that is Mr. Katamelo, and also other members of Parliament to discuss on the issues of continental diplomacy, issues that are impacting lawmaking, law implementation, and also to look at the African unity, to say, when are we going to see Africa as one, especially in the context where still in the communique, and also when it comes to the election of leaders in various institutions, either is African Development Bank, either is AU Commissioner, either is the chairperson of African Union Commission, either is the president of Pan-African Parliament. You see that when it comes to that context, the aspect of division between Francophone Africa and also Anglophone Africa is still persisting, but that is one of the things that is happening. Looking at the high structure, when it comes to United Nations General Assembly for 2026, stated that the president of, the Prime Minister of Israel, that is Benjamin Netanyahu, indicated that he is willing to travel to the U.S., especially when it comes to attending United Nations General Assembly. That is what is called the World Cup of Diplomacy, especially where you have head of state from different states, or the states who are members of United Nations coming together. And on the 8th of September, Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, indicated that he will be present, especially addressing United Nations General Assembly, the 81st, on the 8th of September. But for now, let's look at this news and come back shortly.
So, Prime Minister, you just heard what Zoran Mamdani had to say. He's calling you a war criminal. You're not welcome in New York City. We, of course, also heard from President Trump on this and many others who said this is absolutely not happening. But what are your plans? Are you still going to come to the UN General Assembly? Are you concerned about coming to New York?
No, I'm not concerned, and I certainly intend to do so. I've appeared just about every year, not every year, but almost every year in my prime ministership, unless there are security conditions. But barring that, and I don't expect that to be the case this time, yes, I do intend to come to New York.
Yeah, that is what is happened, especially when it comes to global diplomacy and also the conflict in the Middle East. But it is indicated that for now, Iran and the United States of America have paused, especially when it comes to striking of others' military facilities, especially leaving the room for diplomacy and also for moving to a peaceful solution, especially when it comes to the Middle East conflict. So let's look at the NHP and conclude and give the mic to Penny Ambeko. Let's come back shortly.
efiloshisho utalikulandulako nave wayuka ekwashilipaleko lomarwendo paiwano kupitila mo NHP oatukwateleko mesho ekwashilipaleko lafika mafio $1 emiliona omulongo da Namibia moshilyo shetu keshe kuyanja omakwafo unamiti enashana efiloshisho lopaulumo mumbu kwavo velipo nje yoshilongo shilyo shitopolwa sho ijo yetu tashiningwa inapawe banando ishoshela yasha opo umone yakulo lo police moule o minute edishona elela lishangifako nhp.com.na omanga ino ya morwendo ponje yoshilongo emango no malandula fano ododino kulandurwa NHP rooted in care for you.
Your health, your life, your peace of mind. NHP, we're about you.
Dear listeners and viewers of Eagle FM, that will bring us to end of our news bulletin. From me, Devin Shombe, bye-bye. See you around. I will leave you in the good hands of Peneambeko Jonas from Ondangwa, especially to bring you Mondana Thingi.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests and callers are not those of Eagle FM and any
My
of its
friend,
staff.
why do you seem so worried?
Ace, I'm planning an event for next weekend, and I don't know how to best get people to hear about it.
Same. Don't worry about those small things. Contact Eagle FM today. Eagle FM.
Namibia's #1 talk radio station by downloading the Eagle FM app on the Google Play Store or on the Apple App Store. Download the Eagle FM app to tune into live Eagle FM programming